Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Grand Line. From a Dragon Egg to Strongest Evolution. Chapter 61. Have you heard of Treasure Island? Captain John licked his lips at this time and put away his weapon after landing. He said, "An island of gold and silver, I have its treasure map, but I am not enough to get it." "That's it." Chien hardly hesitated, and smiled at this moment. 70% is mine. The remaining 30% is yours. No. 60% is mine and 40% is yours. Captain John is a person who likes treasures very much. In the original book he also obtained a lot of treasures during his lifetime, but he was a very greedy person. He wanted to kill his own crew and swallow the treasure, but was eventually killed by a joint attack by the crew. It is worth mentioning that he betrayed Rock's pirate and took away all of Rock's pirate's property. Therefore, after the fall of Rocks in the future, where the huge amount of money that has not been mentioned will eventually go to, it is not difficult to guess that it is John's ghost. "John, I've heard of you, the Rocks pirate, guy from the group." Chien stared at him with enthusiasm at this time, and asked, "Why are you looking for me to cooperate instead of your teammates?" "Them." John smiled and said, "Gangs have gang rules, and pirates have pirates rules. Working with them, I can divide less money, and some of them have to be handed over to the pirates. Group is a contribution tax which I cannot accept. You don't conceal your greed is divided, how about? Make a deal." Considering that Chien's combat power can play a big role, John showed a greedy smile. He is a typical pirate, and he is also the type of person who fits the characteristics of a greedy pirate most. "So, who is the enemy?" Chien returned to a human form at this time, with a tall and mighty body, which suddenly suppressed John's tall figure. "Have you heard of rascals on this sea?" John said. "Marine." Hearing the gangsters, Chien thought of Marine for the first time. After all, in the eyes of the pirates, Marine is a gangster with justice and legal looting. "No, above that." John smiled and shook his head. "World government?" Chien asked. "Celestial dragons." John said, "Don't worry, I have arranged the plan. If you handle it well, you should be able to avoid fighting. But if Admiral does come, you can count on your good brother for help." Admiral. At this time, Marine Admiral is not Zephyr or Sengoku, but the guy known as the Three Heroes. Two of them are great swordsmen, and the other is a master of armament hockey, called Gukong. Now he is promoted to Marshal, and there is a vacancy for Admiral, but soon Sengoku will be promoted to Admiral, within a few years. In addition, after the abdication of the Three Heroes, they became loyal to the world government and became the strongest shield of celestial dragons, similar to CP0. Among them, Ji Yukong became the commander-in-chief of the world government. However, their names are not mentioned in the original work, and it is not clear whether they are dead or alive. Even so, Chien also squinted at the greedy pirate in front of him. He is a good brother on the surface, but in his heart he wants him to scapegoat. The ghost knows what John is thinking. But Chien knows this too, but he can't refuse the temptation of so much money. To be precise, it's to feed his family. After all, the greedy ghosts on the boat can spend too much money, once tens of billions. The rich man, there is only less than 1 billion left in front of him. "This is my phone worm. I will inform you of the specific location and time of the action in a few days." At this time, John handed a phone bug wearing a pirate hat to Chien, and then left with a smile on his wine bottle. Interesting. Chien accepted the phone worm. This guy named John is a real villain. He kills people under his hands and does all kinds of robberies. The future Joker Buggy is looking for his treasure. Captain John was also killed by his subordinates when he wanted to swallow the treasure in the past. Later, he was resurrected by Gecko Moria and became a zombie general. He was regarded by his companions as insulting his predecessor. Therefore, whether it is Whitebeard or Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, Golden Lion and others, they are not very happy to hear the name John, who is extremely popular and is also a budget-conscious guy in Rock's pirate. It is not difficult to make money in his hands. But Chien decided to take a gamble. If he was right, he would make a profit. That's all. Chien took the intelligence of Treasure Island and started to return to the ship of the giant Tyrannosaurus. Port. There was a mess on Hockey's giant Tyrannosaurus. Is that a lie? A twitching expression appeared on Chien's face, and he tried to lift his foot slowly. Immediately after stepping in here, the oily semi-liquid covering the entire deck fell on the shoes. Lousy's whale oil. Those whale oil barrels that can be ticked off with gold burst open one by one and landed on the side. Seeing these hard-to-collect high-value materials comparable to oil were wasted, Xian's heart was bleeding, and his expression at this time extraordinarily gloomy, glaring at the direction of the cabin. Say, who did it? In the roar, Xian kicked the door open. At this moment, laugh, quote exclamation mark question mark quote. The blood basin lined with countless sharp teeth opened wide, and a huge monster like a shark burst out. A big mouth aimed at Xian's head and slammed, and the clash of teeth made a clicking sound. Even though Xian reacted in time, he was almost bitten. Observation hockey has failed. That's right, Xian didn't notice this sudden attack just now. Maybe it was because of not being vigilant on his ship, but it stands to reason that everything within a radius of 20 meters shouldn't be ignored. Even so, he didn't respond until the megalodon attacked just now. Carol, the megalodon that failed to bite Xian, fell on the deck thumpingly at this time, turned around and wanted to bite it back, but Xian saw the timing and stepped on the tail with one foot. Enough playing. Xian leapt high and rode directly on the shark's back, grabbing the huge fins, while the shark struggled constantly and let out a brutal roar. But the shark's skin seems to have high toughness and elasticity, and at the same time it is very smooth, almost throwing Xian off. Woo! The megalodon exhibits an amazing curvature through its soft tail, flips homeopathically, and strikes precisely towards Xian's flanks. Xian twisted his body and avoided the attack, but his flank was slightly cut, and a scratch was made by his teeth. And Xian jumped into the air again, and then the shark's mouth sprang from directly below to bite. Xian chuckled while borrowing force in the air. In this seemingly extremely dangerous process, the corners of his mouth still kept the usual fearless smile. Sedatives. Xian took out the stock medicine and instantly anesthetized the megalodon, and it twitched slowly, the body fell down like an out of balance, breathing and heartbeat gradually calmed down, and gradually became the original posture. Okay, I want to check what is going on, the reason why I went crazy in less than half a day after leaving. Xian said so, looking fiercely into the cabin. He walked to the stairs leading downstairs, snapped his fingers, rubbed out a ball of flame, lit the whale oil lamp, and then walked under the cabin with the lamp. However, at this moment, wow, the girl hiding behind the door screamed in horror, and saw Xian looking at her, squinting her eyes slightly, her gaze was very cold. Roar! Suddenly, the loud dragon roar resounded throughout the room. The lights come on. Xian saw the scene in front of him clearly, with red eyes staring at him. A fierce female dragon looked at him at this time, its scales were stained red with blood, 2 smooth red horns on the head, and 6 on the back. Like the huge dragon wings shining with the source of darkness, the body is covered with vermilion horns, and the hostility that shakes the air dyes the surrounding space crimson, like the incarnation of the disaster at the end of the world. Who is it? Xian looked forward with a bit of amazement. It was a weak and hoarse girl's voice. He was taken aback and hurriedly stared into the large cabin room. I saw this burning red dragon began to sway, gradually revealing its appearance as the light irradiated. Is it, brother? Gradually it began to transform into a human form. The bottom of the girl's neck and hands were covered with red inflammation, only the delicate face was exposed, and the long crimson was as beautiful as flames. From the gaps in the hair, red eyes can be seen. Those eyes are as charming as the moon that has not yet risen, but they are full of confusion. She is about 12 or 3 years old. Although she is quite haggard, she can be vaguely recognized from the dangling hair that she has a beautiful face. With this unexpected thing, Xian froze in place. The red-haired and red-eyed girl also seemed to look forward blankly, full of grievance and fear, as if to be scolded for doing something wrong. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Xian took a deep breath, but his head couldn't react. Sorry, I went in the wrong place. After saying this, Xian was about to leave here, and then re-entered. The red-eyed girl hurriedly stopped him. Wait a minute. Brother, I became so weird. Are you really Hina? As Xian said, she distanced herself from her, and suddenly the girl started to cry. Hey, Tis, what's going on? Why did Hina become like this, and who did something to her? However, Xian looked at the trembling boatman Tis at this time. The blonde and single ponytail shook her head vigorously, and kept saying, "No, it's not my fault, it's the two of them who insisted on grabbing that thing. Eat, and then argue." After Hina ate, she vomited madly, and then her body changed drastically. Carol was injured because she stopped her, and she suddenly changed. Become a monster. Oh, Captain, I'm so scared. The most feared person in this chaos is Tiss. She is an ordinary mermaid of ancestral blood, surrounded by monsters, and they are all those who eat meat at every turn. Okay, don't be afraid. Xian quickly hugged the girl who was about to cry and comforted, and then looked around, focusing on an opened box. This is. Xian walked over and saw a devil fruit bitten in half by the box. He patted his forehead and said inwardly, "Oops. Forgot to hide it." The devil fruit brought out from the ruins of the deep sea was actually eaten by Hina. What am I doing? Xian sighed inwardly. Hina should be terrified now. She doesn't understand what happened to her, so she should explain everything by herself at this time. So Xian raised his head and stepped forward gradually, squatting down to look at this child who is only half of his height, and whispered, "Every dragon will be upgraded, just like my brother and me. As long as you are Hina, it doesn't matter. Whatever you become, I won't care about you. Just flicker." As long as she can transform her inner anxiety and fear into awakening in the original, the girl also opened her eyes wide and was no longer afraid. Really? Of course. Xian subconsciously hugged her, but as soon as she touched Xena, her fingers were burned by red inflammation, and they began to crumble at a speed visible to the naked eye. What kind of power is this? Xian felt a sharp burning sensation, and hurriedly retracted his fingers. The skin and part of the flesh and blood had already begun to disappear, which made him feel a little strange. At this time, the voice of the system rang in his mind. The Devil Fruit picture book has been refreshed. Discover Demon Fruit Power. Zone Devil Fruit U Demon's Big Red Dragon Form. Rarity. SS Level. Place of birth. The Sulphur Fire Lake at the deepest part of the seabed. According to legend, at the end of the trial, a big red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns appeared in the sky. It is the incarnation of the devil Satan, the incarnation of desperate disasters, and is the devil king to tempt humans to commit crimes. It is one of the ultimate devil fruits opposite the form of the seraphim. Devil fruit ability can burn all touched objects, burn the soul, and possess the power of demons. It is immune to the effects of pain, curse, and disease. You can use fall into hell, and devil's pressure, close hollow corner bracket and other means of attack. You can also transform into the postures of King of Hell and Queen of Red Dragon. At the same time, you can transform into any human form with the devil's kaleidoscope. There is no life limit, but all skills consume soul points, that is, only loot more souls to increase the strength of the ability. Devil Fruit is one of the strongest phantom beasts. Good, great ability. Xian is a little envious, but he is not an illusion beast species, he is a dragon egg form of a dragon fruit, belonging to a special species of the evolution system. In other words, there is no upper level limit, it can be the weakest or the strongest, depending on the individual host. However, Hina's big red dragon fruit directly became the King of Hell. Just like Paramesh's strongest shock fruit, it is almost invincible after eating it. But don't worry, Devil Fruit's combat power system never collapses. There is no weakest fruit, only the weakest user. There is no true invincibility in this world. Even God will die. The difference is how to die. There are many ways to restrain demon fruit power. Seastone specializes in dissatisfaction, and even if it is not demon fruit power, it does not mean it is necessarily weak. Hina's fruit ability is slightly stronger than Charlotte Linland's soul fruit. The difference is that the soul fruit is to judge the soul and then customize it into the body of the object or element to form life, while the big red dragon uses the soul to transform itself into itself. The desired thing or power is equivalent to omnipotent, and does not need to resort to other material media. But considering that Charlotte Linland was able to slaughter the giant village at the age of 5, Hina was far too short in terms of individual factors. But now does not mean that in the future, the dragon girl will eventually grow into a majestic queen. Sure enough, it was still eaten by you. Xian looked at the bitten devil fruit. He knew it was extremely unpalatable, and Xena would vomit normally. You won't be able to touch the sea in the future, understand? Well, Then Hina can be like her brother. The well-behaved red-haired girl stood in front of Xian, and an unspeakable complex mood filled her heart. Xian suppressed this feeling and said patiently, "Are you planning to act like this in the future?" Nod. Then, put on your clothes first, even if it's me, it's kind of. Tis, bring your suit over. Huh, Captain Xian, my set is. Tis was stunned and hurriedly wanted to explain, but was threatened by Xian with Kamui's eyes. Okay, go here, soon. When Hina changed into a black and white maid dress, Xian gradually showed an unkind smile, and Tis also smiled bitterly on the side, as if she had discovered her own captain's habit. I wanted to do this a long time ago. Xian said. It's so interesting to have a cute sister who can't be bullied. But then, from now on, you have to teach Hina some human girls' lifestyles. After all, she's used to dragons' behavior. You know, Tis. So that's it. Tis figured it out. Although Hina looks like a cute and beautiful girl, in fact she is clumsy even to walk upright, and she likes to bite things with her teeth, she likes to swallow toys in one bite, and even the flying bugs and fish are eaten raw. Swallow alive. If it's in the dragon form, that's fine, but the human form looks too abnormal. A dragon in human skin. Tis discovered that on the ship she was on, almost no one was a normal person. No, there was no human at all. Xian was ignored. You bad thing. Suddenly a naive and crisp voice sounded from the upper part of the cabin stairs, and a lovely girl with pale silver hair, like an elf, pointed angrily at Zero. Do you want to bully me again? Quote. Xian stared at the girl, and the girl stared at him, knowing how long they have looked at each other. Finally, Xian sighed and put her eyes on the red-haired beautiful girl aside. What? Perhaps the girl understood what she meant. She opened her eyes in surprise and looked at Hina dumbfounded. Then, the girl said in a trembling but clear voice, "Who is she?" You won't even forget Hina, at least the smell is the same. But, since she ate that weird fruit, no, devil fruit became different after it was eaten. But no matter what it turns out, she is Hina. Xian explained, while observing the situation sideways. The red-haired beautiful girl was staring at the front, but all her emotions were revealed on her face. You idiot, attack me indiscriminately. You even knocked over my brother's whale oil, so don't hesitate to apologize. Huh, why should I apologize? Are you not responsible? Shut up all to me. Xian's head is about to explode at this time, and he complained loudly at this time. Who did I find to be a crew member? How come all of them are so naive? And also, Carol, you are 22 years old, can you be as mature as me? Hina, how did I teach you? Don't quarrel, it's meaningless. Now I don't care who you are right or wrong. On this ship, Lousy is the captain, so I will go out to clean up, otherwise there will be no food. Tis, you leave it, you are responsible for handling the cargo list. Let me take a rest down. Yes, Captain, all right, now, immediately, disappear from my eyes. The helpless Xian lay on the chair with an expression of hopelessness. She had brought Bai Lian over since she knew she was so smart and mature, she wouldn't be so tired, as if she was taking care of a child. Hina let it go. Since Carol has never been in contact with the group, his experience and way of dealing with things and his temperament are the same as those of children. Oh, by the way, Carol, get dressed, too, don't run around all day. Quote. The girl with pale silver hair, that is, Carol, showed an incredible expression. I'm a shark. How can sharks be like humans? Whether it's Hina or Carlos, it's the same idea, only Tiss's red face is reflexive. She held her coat and handed it over, raising her eyes and murmured. The captain is lustful. Quote. Saying nothing at this time, Xian maintained an elegant and awkward smile, insisting on remaining silent. But such days did not last long. A few days later, the news that Xian was waiting for did not arrive, but a young and tall man contacted him and said, John was arrested. He asked me to come to you. Introduce yourself. My name is Edward Newgate. Board the giant Tyrannosaurus. Even in the face of Hina or other crew members, Xian will still intimidate them with his gaze. His eyes are cold, and he does not leave any room for aura. He wants these undaunted guys to understand what is fear and what is called fear, respect. After all, the captain's majesty is Xian's only effective means. The other side, dressed in a maid costume, Tais looked at this side observantly, and when she saw Xian's anger disappeared, she approached. Captain, have a cup of coffee. She is also responsible for cleaning the ship's internal and external work, part-time maid, and occasionally cooking. Of course, it's hard for her to cook, but considering that no one on board except Xian knows how to cook, so no matter how unpleasant it is, she has to eat it. There is no room for negotiation. Thanks. Xian tasted coffee that was not too bad, and then looked at Tis. Speaking of it, he hadn't really observed and studied the personalities and areas of expertise of his crew members. Then, Xian began to look at the property panel of each of them. First of all, name, Xian, position, captain. People call it, evil dragon, or, black dragon, usually the image of a young and tall man, with a burly and lean muscle body, with incredible majesty and a strong sense of oppression. Human height, 9.8 meters. Human weight, 32 tons. In terms of appearance, he has short and medium black hair, sharp golden eye pupils, and huge dragon horns between his eyebrows pointing towards the sky. Although he is burly and huge, he is very uniform and does not make people feel bloated or deformed. After all, the overall ratio of height magnification is unchanged. It's better to say that Xian is of the same body type. Compared with the giants, Xian can be regarded as skinny. Since the weight changes with height, the skeleton alone is more than 1 or 2 tons. If it is too light, it will look like paper. Moreover, Xian's body density is more than 6 times that of ordinary humans, which greatly enhances strength and defense. However, the weight is also very exaggerated. It is guessed that Kaido should be similar. Including Bigmom, there are species when walking. The feeling of shaking the earth and the mountains shows that the weight is not known how many tons. Dragon form height, 5 meters. Dragon form wingspan, 84 meters. Dragon shape and body length, 96.6 meters. Dragon weight, 46,000 tons. The dragon form is more complicated, and it is also Xian's main combat method. He will only use human attack methods on the premise of absolute spikes. In most cases, the dragon form is used to kill powerful enemies or a large number of pirates. The height of 50 meters is already a giant. The wingspan is proportional to the height, as is the tail length, followed by the weight. 46,000 tons is a real monster level weight, but weight does not mean everything, mainly depends on explosive power. Based on the fact that humans can lift 6 times their own weight as a basis, the Murloc's wrist strength is 10 times that of humans, and the dragon's strength is 10 times that of Murloc's. In general, Xian's limit should be 100. The burst of power to double one's own body weight is 4.6 million tons, but in fact it is not the case. Murloc has strong enough wrist strength, racial advantage, and high weight to a certain extent. There are many factors to consider, and the physical laws of the Earth itself cannot be ignored. And various influences on power, such as the law of gravity. To be precise, in the case of normal gravity, Xian can lift an object 10 times its own body weight, and it is very difficult to go up. But if you fly into the sky and dive down, the explosive force is quite terrifying. In theory, it can far exceed the million-ton level. However, considering that the forces are mutual, the reaction force should also be counted, otherwise the enemy will be killed. I also died violently, even though Xian can be resurrected, it can't be played like this. But with the blessing of various passive abilities, it's okay to punch hundreds of thousands of tons in one punch. It sounds exaggerated, but in fact, the mass of a mountain with a height of 5 to 600 meters and a bottom diameter is almost 210 million tons. Although this punch can cause visual range damage, it is still nothing. The light lion fruit of Golden Lion and shock fruit of Whitebeard can easily lift or destroy it. Of course, people and people cannot be compared. Mountains are dead and people are alive. This is just a blowout of Xian's greatest strength. If it really hits a person, how many people can hold it? Black Dragon at maturity, level 5. Health, 125, 500. Fruit ability, individual evolution. All skills are learned by constantly honing their skills, including the skills of the Crazy Fight Warrior and Game series and General Hockey Coercion Multifunction etc. Including abilities, Xian Master currently has nearly 100 different passive skills. General departments include big stomach king, carnivorism, super gastric juice, temperature measuring skin, etc. Warrior departments include power liberation, speeding healing, vigorous warfare and bravery, exploding scale defense, etc. Frenzy battle. The elements include anger boost, blood rage, muscle torn, weak blood runaway, etc. Buff includes pica, scaly enhancement, strength enhancement, cell activation, etc. I will not give examples one by one, even including hockey long way and elemental attack methods, but these all require trigger conditions. For example, certain skills must be related to the specified environment, individual, and whether they are in a state of anger. A more complicated combat system, but the advantages and disadvantages are obvious. The disadvantage is that it will test Xian's combat skills and experience when dealing with emergencies. For example, how to quickly enter the runaway state. If 10 buffs are refreshed in 1 second, it is like walking A and skill combos in some games, which test personal operation. This is similar to the swordsman's swordsmanship genre. Xian can be matched different skills and talent attributes to face different enemies. Giant beast hunting stream, pure meat armor stream, blood rage stream, sword tyrant's own father stream. This genre is specifically aimed at the group of people holding swords, using the characteristics of destructive weapons to continuously bomb knife, resistance to metal weapons, and even damage to swordsman's weapons. The advantages are also obvious: close to endless learning ability, can continue to evolve more and more powerful skills. From the initial F level skill intensity, slowly to the C, B, A level, and even the S level gluttony, dragon breath, aren't these all powers that can kill the quartet with any one? In short, this is the end of Xian's introduction, and unless there are major changes in the future, we won't be able to summarize the capabilities. Tis, what is your dream? Xian recovered from the meditation, looked at the woman in front of her, and her information and attributes were also displayed in front of her. Tis, the strongest tool man. Position, boatman. Race, ancestral blood, dragon turtle fish species. Height, 6.7 meters. Weight, unknown. Girls' weights are all mysteries. Devil fruit, none. Ability, infinite power, can lift a ship with one hand, and is good at transforming ships. Ha, dream, me. Tis stared at Xian, her blue eyes twinkled like amber. With a single blonde ponytail, her plump figure, and the breasts that made the girl feel stressed, she can only say that she has a very good figure. Yes, people have dreams, otherwise it is different from salted fish. Even if you ask like that, I would. If I insist, then my dream is probably to eat desserts all over the world. It's not promising. I thought you were going to be the world's best boatman. Impossible, hee. As long as my brother Tom is still there, no one can surpass him. Even if my brother retires, then my little brother Dan can be ranked second. For me, at most, I can be ranked third. Fortunately, neither of them are good at decorating the interiors of ships, they are guys without artistic talent. Tis looked at Xian with a serious face, her eyes seemed to say, quickly praise me, you have found a treasure. Indeed, with you, the color of the entire ship has become very different from before. And the style of each crew's room is different, but I'm curious why you designed my room in black style. I am actually a macho who likes pink. Unexpectedly, is this so? Tis was shocked, covering her mouth as if she was frightened. She didn't expect that the masculine and handsome captain would actually like such a girlish color. I'm going to renovate now. Forget it, a waste of materials. You should supervise whether Hina and Carol are doing a good job, don't let them quarrel again. Is this too dangerous? Tis suddenly left a trace of cold sweat on her forehead. Although she seemed to have the temperament of a lively big sister, the two girls were both monsters. This is the captain's order, do you also go against my will? Good captain. Tis ran away without looking back. It's worth mentioning that Tis has close to 2 hours a day to get nervous, and her personality becomes very rough, like a big sister. Everyone wants to slap twice, so Tis is only in the crew during this time. China's status is very high, and the other time is the last one. Hey, you stepped on the floor I dragged. You stupid female dragon. Carol's childish and clear voice sounded outside, followed by Hina's retort. The two of them are like Sanji and Zoro. They are not pleasing to the eyes of each other all day long, and the fighting power is not much different. They clamor to fight and splash blood at every turn. Carol is a little stronger than Hina. But now because Hina has devil fruit, it is not easy to say, but considering that this is the sea area, it is still Carol's main venue. The data about the two of them also began to appear in Xian's eyes. Name: Hina. Position: Deputy Captain. Race: Thoroughbred Tyrannosaurus Rex, Big Red Dragon. Devil Fruit. Zone Devil Fruit Eudemon's Big Red Dragon form. Fruit ability: Flame Burning, Material Creation, Shape Transformation. The ability is still under development, and it can be known that there are three major characteristics: attack deprivation and given. Similar to Xian's rage value, Hina consumes soul value as the main skill consumption method. Height: 3.44 meters. Weight: 2.6 tons estimated by Xian holding it up. Probably this data, the shape of the dragon is unknown. Hina is a cold and arrogant girl with a bad temper. To be precise, it is quite bad, lawless, fearless, and arrogant. But only listening to Xian, she looks like a docile cat in front of Xian, but if Xian is not there, she is like a demon, likes to cause devastating damage to everything around. Demolition. It seems this inherited the character of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it was also manifested in childhood. From the first hunting of the dodo, Xian realized that Hina is wild and has the natural instinct for hunting and killing. She is a real predator dragon, not a human, so these characters it's all normal. Therefore, with Xian, the relationship between Hina and Carol seems to be noisy and bickering, but if there is no Xian, it is a death fight, blood feud. As long as you behave well in front of your elder brother, as long as you have elder brother alone, it doesn't matter what other people are, just kill them all. This is Hina's voice, with a strong possessive desire. But don't get me wrong. Xian and Xena have no blood relationship at all. It's just that the adoptive parents, Tyrannosaurus Rex, saved Xian, so Xian chose to stay in the dragon's nest and accompany her to grow up. It stands to reason. Xian intends to go to sea on her own. I didn't expect Xena to insist on following. This is no way. It is too dependent on herself. Therefore, in Xena's mind, Xian's position is very important and cannot be taken by anyone, replaced. Same. Carol thinks so too. As the only person who was willing to accept her except her sister, Carol did not have such careful thoughts as Hina. It is better to say that she is very simple. Good is good, bad is bad, there is no right or evil. She hates murlocs, hates mermaids, hates everyone who sees her as monsters. From the moment I met Xian, she seemed to understand something. Mermaid. Yes, once I belonged to a kind of human. However, I have already taken a step forward and have already surpassed human beings. Monster. So, I can indeed be called a monster like this. However, I prefer the way you flee in fear when you see my true face. It's just, I didn't expect this feeling to be so pleasant. It's really stupid to hesitate about taking that step before. If this unspeakable force can help him, then I have the value of existence, because he said he needs me. The girl's eyes were full of primitive desire, like looking at prey and food. Only a strong killing intent appeared in the bottom of my heart. Now that you have chosen to become a monster, don't blame yourself for being brutal and brutal. The weak and the strong eat, it is justified. Name: Carlo. Position: Navigator. Race: Megalodon Mermaid. Ability: Super Smell, Temperature and Humidity Perception, Ocean Current Operation, Blood Rage, Evil Shark Bite. She is about the same height as Hina, but relatively shorter. Height: meters. Weight: 2.5 tons. Because it is a megalodon mermaid, it is much stronger than ordinary mermaid. Even the future seaman Jinbei will be willing to bow down, and due to the unstable characteristics, usually need to wear a gas mask to show everyone. The image of Sharkji Luli looks very cute. The character is also very naive, but the depth of the heart is very darkness. After all, living alone in the deep sea for a long time, full of distrust and hostility towards people around him. Based on the powerful strength of Xian and the personal charm that does not care about their past, it is also the only motivation for Carol to stay on this ship. If Xian disappears, then she will leave the pirate group without thinking. Wandering around at sea, there is no place to live. In summary, the Captain Xian, the Deputy Captain Hina, the Sailor Carlos, and the Boatman Tis. This is the embryonic form of the Xian pirate group, but judging from the identity of the navigator and shipmaker, outside of Hina, they don't seem to be real combatants. This also shows that the real combatants have not yet appeared. 5 days later, leaving the island's town, in the second half of the Grand Line New World, Xian never heard from Captain John again. But when he thought that the other party was not going to do it, the phone bug John gave him suddenly rang. Xian put it in his ear and made a low voice, "Hello? John?" No, John was caught. A thick and clear male voice came from the other side of the phone worm, completely different from John's uncomfortable hoarse voice. It was another person. Quote. Xian was silent, and the person's voice continued to ring. "He told me to let me come to you, saying that you can help." The thick and clear male voice continued. "I want a 20% bonus, and the remaining 80% belongs to you. How about?" "Who are you?" Xian frowned. Why suddenly a third party popped out? "I am the captain of the Moby Dick Under Rocks pirate. My name is Edward Newgate and I am a colleague of John." Edward Newgate. Huh, a familiar name. So, you are planning to mix it up. The 20% bonus is really not much, but why should I give it to you? What did John say? John, didn't I tell you that he was arrested? The vigorous and clear male voice sounded again, telling the source of the matter. John was arrested for stealing Celestial Dragon's secrets. He is now trapped near the prison island. You can kill him with me and rescue him. You guys at Rocks Pirate don't care, let me be an outsider to save him. Are you kidding me? Yes, but, the thick and clear male voice stiffened, as if sighing. He said, "Can we meet again and talk about it? This matter is more complicated than you think." Good. Xian nodded and decided to make an appointment with this guy named Edward Newgate. That's right, the thick and clear male voice finally said. Just the two of us, don't bring too many people. I'm afraid it will cause some unnecessary trouble. After hanging up the phone worm, Xian began to be surprised. This man named Edward Newgate is Whitebeard. He is 23 years old and is particularly good at playing. He is also famous in New World. His relationship with Rocks is similar to his foster father and son. Whitebeard respects him very much, but Rocks does not seem to care about the life and death of the crew. His ambition is very swollen. He especially likes to recruit strong men as his subordinates. The future Kaido and Blackbeard will inherit him. Ambition. New World. A huge beluga sailboat with spectacular waves, aboard the Mobile. The surface of the nearby sea was shattered, and there were many corpses lying all around, blood and debris from ships falling everywhere. It looked like a great battle had just been experienced. And on this huge ship traveling in the chaotic battlefield wreckage, there is a hockey iron-blooded skull flag. A strong man with a height of 6 meters and 6 meters stands tall, holding a 9-meter-long naginata in his hand. Half of his face and exposed abdominal muscles were splashed with the enemy's blood. At this time, Hockey looked forward. The enemy was completely destroyed, and his ship was unharmed. Well, Xian. Edward Newgate looked sharply at the sea ahead. His expression was particularly dignified, and he recalled the scene not long ago in his mind. Help me, Newgate. Help me. We are good brothers, you can't leave me alone. Remember this number. The pirate named Xian is my temporary partner, you may be able to rescue me with him. Close hollow corner bracket. This is the call to Whitebeard in an emergency when Captain John was arrested. Patter. With the sound of footsteps, another blonde-haired man walked up on the boat. Newgate, John, it's not a good thing. At this time, the blonde man came to the young Whitebeard's side. He looked stubborn, his neck was muscular, and his figure was quite burly. A bunch of beards remained under his nose. At this time, his eyes were extremely sharp. You don't need to help him. Or are you interested in the non-existent treasure in his mouth? Treasure. It doesn't matter what that kind of thing is. Edward Newgate closed his eyes at this time, and then opened them again. Shiki, aren't we a big family? Rox said, everyone on the boat is family, even if John is annoying, he will always be ours. Member. Faced with such a person's cry for help, how can I just sit back and watch? So, I have to go, and I must go. Why are you so deadheaded, Newgate? Golden Lion Shiki is furious. He and Whitebeard are iron buddies and have a good relationship. Now that John has been caught, it is clear that it is a trap set by Marine. He must have something wrong with him. Do you know why John asked you for help? Quote, know what? Edward Newgate didn't tell the truth, he knew it well. Why did John ask him for help instead of other people? Rather, apart from Whitebeard, almost no one is willing to help John. Therefore, John took advantage of Whitebeard's point. Perhaps Whitebeard was very ruthless to outsiders, but he had to help him, otherwise John said that Whitebeard was hypocritical, what a shit big family, and even good brothers would die. If you want to change to someone else, you must just curse it back. But Whitebeard, he is different. As a powerful young man of Rock's pirate, his interpersonal relationship is actually not very good. Because Whitebeard once said that his biggest dream is to get a family, other pirates are all scornful, few people take him seriously, but due to Whitebeard's strength, they dare not say it face to face, and are unwilling to talk. Whitebeard. Only Charlotte Linlin sometimes talks to Whitebeard, saying that she agrees with Whitebeard's ideas and asks him if he is interested in having a baby, but since Whitebeard ruthlessly rejected Charlotte Linlin ignored him after that. In addition to Charlotte Linlin, Golden Lion Shiki and Whitebeard did not know each other. It is more of a sympathy between the strong. In the end, it was John. John would drink with Whitebeard from time to time, bragging about what treasure he had found, what place and ship he had robbed, and so on. Although Whitebeard was disgusted with this, as one of the few people willing to take care of him, Whitebeard did not refuse either. Anyway, drinking, just drink it. Usually Whitebeard treats John as a whisper and doesn't listen to a word. And John doesn't matter, as long as someone is willing to listen to his bragging. John and Whitebeard usually have no intersection, but they often drink together. Shiki, you go back, I will take care of this. Edward Newgate looked into the distance and rejected Shiki's suggestion. You guy, you really have a brain. Golden Lion laughed angrily. Why don't you say that this is the real you? Are you sure? If you need my help, just say it. Thank you, but I have found someone, and I heard from John that he seems to be very strong. So, don't worry, I don't care about those Marines. Edward Newgate Hockey said, pulling out the naginata at this time and striding out. I'm going to the Northwest Peninsula to make peace with him. If you want to follow, you may not have your share if you pay dividends. Dividends, lousy is not uncommon. However, I really want to see how John was abused by Marine. It might be interesting. Golden Lion sneered, but after thinking about it, he still followed to join in the fun. Up to this moment, the relationship between Golden Lion and Whitebeard was still acceptable. After the split of Rock's pirate, they also became rivals, transformed into a competitive relationship, formed the Flying Pirates themselves, and galloped in the New World. In the Northwest Peninsula, the storm spread. In the middle of the night, there is no moon, and the sea breeze swept through the dark clouds. The dark clouds engulfed the lightning and tore the sky. The purple-golden lightning flashed a trace of electricity along the dragon's wings. As the huge black dragon flapped its wings, the surrounding scenery quickly changed. Passing by. Arrive. Just as the waves splashed and rushed straight to the sky, a dragon shadow that covered the sky and the sun fell from the sky and landed on this island in a sudden. This is one of New World's harsher climate zones, surrounded by ocean currents spiraling into the sky. It took Xian a little while to come all the way, guided by the night and lightning, and approach the promised island a little bit. Roar. At this time, Xian was standing on the coast of the high cliff, looking down at the surrounding environment while looking down at the burning bonfire. Where are the two figures? Although deafening dragon roars frequently sound in their ears, the expressions on their faces are very calm. Finally, are you here? Suddenly, there was an inaudible sound from behind. Xian doesn't need to look back, already knows who is here. He sneered, you came earlier than I thought, Edward Newgate. As soon as the voice fell, a tall man walked out slowly from the shadow behind him. The other party said, I have been waiting for you for a long time, the captain of the Xian pirate group. Actually, you should explain to me. After calming down, the smile gradually faded from Xian's face, leaving only his eyes sharpened. There is no need to look back. Xian has already spotted Golden Lion, it is better to say that he has no intention of hiding himself. My name is Shiki, hello, big monster. A strong man holding two famous swords, Sakura-ten and Withered Wood, came out. He already felt the huge and powerful figure of Xian, coupled with the majestic and low voice. At the same time, the huge shadow was slowly moved towards him. So, is this what you mean by not bringing people? At this time, the oppressive voice rang in Whitebeard's ear again. I won't do business with people with no credibility. I won't accompany you. Goodbye. Shien fluttered into the sky, set off a storm, and was about to leave here. And many more. Whitebeard looked up and shouted, he's just here to help, he won't ask for a cent. Cut. The dragon greedy for money. Golden Lion wanted to get angry, but Whitebeard stopped him and explained that he was just a free thug. Tell me about your plan. Shien flew to the cliff and stood on the high cliff. At this time, Dragon Claw climbed the rock and smashed a lot of rocks. In the rumbling rubble, he looked down at the two people near the beach. The purpose of Shien is for money. If you have a profit, you can consider it. If you don't have a profit, he will go straight away. It is simple and clear. According to the current situation, I am 50%, Whitebeard is 20%, John is 30%, Golden Lion is for nothing, a tool man, but maybe Whitebeard will invite him to drink. John was on Prison Island and was sent to Naval Headquarters for public execution 3 days later. Edward Newgate spread out a map showing the locations of some lighthouses, watchtowers, and some marine patrolling warships, and said, the prison island is located in a complex terrain and is in a storm that is very difficult to get close to us. People who have the ability to fly like you are especially needed. If you can take us into the stormy waters near the prison island, then our success rate can be greatly improved. Did you tell you the location of John's treasure? No, he said nothing. Good. The partner changed from John to Whitebeard. Shien didn't have any dissent, but was just curious why Whitebeard wanted to share the pie. Maybe it's to send money to the destitute hometown. After all, Whitebeard is particularly stingy in the original book. He loves to drink, but he is not willing to spend money to buy it himself. This time, Marine attaches great importance to the plan that can defeat Rock's pirate, and has sent several warships and Marine Vice Admiral to escort. Have you figured it out clearly? Golden Lion Shiki finally intervened, reminding Shien and Whitebeard that the enemies were tricky. How? Suddenly, the mountain was shaking and trembling slightly. There seemed to be strange waves, and then, the crushed stones under the dragon's claws turned into dust, and the black dragon stuck out its huge head, stretched it out, and said to the Golden Lion, also do I need to prove my strength to you? Goo la 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 la. Edward Newgate let out a trademark laugh. He raised his mouth and looked at the deflated Golden Lion, and said, will you fight? But I don't think you may have the upper hand. Arrogant kid, but let's give young people a chance to be arrogant, as a junior. Golden Lion was well known earlier than Shien. At this time, he was so angry that he laughed, and his predecessor's identity was magnanimous to resolve the embarrassing situation. As this, senior, it's ridiculous enough, but you'd better figure out when to do it, don't let me go for nothing. After Shien finished speaking, he fluttered his wings, and his figure gradually disappeared at the end of the sky. People don't take you seriously, Shiki. Whitebeard looked up to the sky. He could no longer see the black dragon, while Golden Lion stood on the spot, his face flushed, his fists clenched in anger, his teeth creaked. You're still laughing, Newgate, I knew Lousy would not come with you. Then the sky cleared, the clouds dispersed, and the bright moon was sprinkled with jade-colored crumbs. It was a dark cloud running through the black dragon, as if laughing at them. At this time, the Golden Lion had not eaten lion fruit, so angry and hated, he lost his face, known as the Bloody Swordsman. But, for the time being, Golden Lion cannot fight Shien, because it means a break in the partnership with Whitebeard, so Whitebeard will definitely stop it, so it just talks about it and won't really do it. Even if you really want to fight, I have to wait for this matter to come to an end. Board the giant Tyrannosaurus. The empty material boxes were piled outside. Shien turned into a human form and landed on the deck. The surface of his body had evaporated a lot of gas due to the high temperature, and he also stood upright. The captain is back. Tiss was overjoyed, and as soon as she finished talking about two petite figures, she rushed over from 2 directions and hugged him. Don't take us out to play. It's so boring. Wong is good. Hina and Carlo complained that there was nothing to interact with in the big empty ship all day. Bored. Hina, did you train with armament hockey today? Has Devil Fruit's proficiency improved? Did Carol endorse well? How much did you read the Grandmaster book when you got started with the Voyager? Ah, this, that. Suddenly the two hurriedly retracted. their big round eyes looked to the side, not daring to speak. You like to play, don't you? Xian sneered, pointing to the empty ship and said, do you know why our ship looks so depreciated? Because it is poor. Why is it poor? Because of you. It's delicious and lazy. Tenton demolished the house. How did you destroy the cabin? Now, basically every day when I am away, the giant Tyrannosaurus will change its appearance. What did you do to make such a big ship so embarrassing? Captain, I'm going to work for now. Tais was about to run away as soon as she finished speaking, but she did not expect Xian's preaching to fall on her head. Where are the drawings for the Dragon King you planned for me? It's been half a month, I haven't seen it yet. Are you a boatman? Do you want to make a big renovation and upgrade the arms system? Salary. Oh, the captain bullies people. The three of you, if I find the damage next time, even if only one person breaks the thing, everyone will have no food to eat. When Xian was away, they attacked the giant Tyrannosaurus, biting and gnawing, and tearing down the house. When Xian was there, all of them insisted and didn't dare to speak loudly. The absence of people is bad, super fierce, and arrogant. When people are there, they are cute, and innocent. Being kind to them is the torture of the giant Tyrannosaurus. Xian felt very sorry for the ship he built and worried that it would suddenly disintegrate. So Tis had to speed up the upgrade and transformation of the Dragon King, stabilize the hull, and add weapon systems. At this time, Tis said cautiously, Captain, our funds are insufficient. Xian narrowed his eyes and turned his head to look, isn't there still a billion berry? It's gone for a long time, and it costs 15 million to maintain the hull every day. Tis's voice was as thin as a mosquito, and Xian almost fainted. At the same time, the elf-like cute girl with pale silver hair and the beautiful girl with crimson hair glanced at each other, nodded tacitly, preparing to sneak away. However, Tis on the side was horrified, and saw the cup in her hand falling to the ground and broken. On the other side, Xian's figure has gradually grown larger, and gradually everything around him is shrouded in the shadow of the black dragon. The next day, when Edward Newgate sent another message, it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Xian stood on the deck looking up at the sky as usual, breathing the air, stretching his arms, cool. Behind, the two lowly had been chained. In order to prevent them from tearing down the house, Xian locked them here and gave the key to Tais. Brother, I was wrong. Boss, don't. It's useless to beg for mercy. As a predator by nature, they can't help but destroy some strange things, and their tempers will suddenly become irritable. Only by doing so can the damage be reduced. For example, the 4 crew members were sitting together for dinner the night before, and then Carol was there to be stupid. She stared at the round chandelier above her head without blinking, and then became angry when she looked at it, and suddenly bit into pieces. The entire table was overturned. Xian was dumbfounded on the spot. Only then did he understand. This is as if the Fur Clan stares at the moon will be violent, because staring at the light source for a long time will cause the human brain to become blank and not thinking about things, and then the body tends to instinct and begins to regain its wildness. And Carol treated the lamp as a monster like a deep-sea anglerfish, and couldn't help but attack. Similar things can be found in Hina. For example, she ran into a wall or her head inadvertently as she walked, and then started a fire. Dare to hit me and see if I won't tear you down. Then he rushed forward, and there was a frantic beating. All the moves were used, and the purpose was to completely destroy it. So, do you want to be so irritable? Let's not talk about these two demolitionists. Sometimes Tis gets nervous for 2 hours a day. Her tone becomes like a big sister's head. She is very mad, holding a wine bottle in one hand, while cursing the surrounding people in a bad tone. People seem to have entered a delusion. It seems that this kind of female pirate's posture is Tis's own mind, not the solemn maid sailor. In the final analysis, Xian has the advantage of the human race. His mind is more flexible, and at least he is not stupid. Even when he is angry, he is still calm. Listen, I might be back later. Don't run around. Call me if you have trouble. Good Captain. Good luck. Remember, don't unlock them for them. Clear. Although Tis said that, she realized the result of the matter when she saw the grinning expressions of Carol and Hina. At this time, he hesitated to tell Xian. If they dare to break the chain, I will switch to Seastone next time. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Hina was shocked when she heard this. She knew what sea stone was, but Carol didn't seem to know it, and it wasn't demon fruit power. And the smart Hina would definitely wonder if Carol would betray her and deliberately do things, and then when she was trapped by the sea stone chain, she would be happy alone. Suddenly, Hina was in a cold sweat and looked at Carol vigilantly, making the innocent Meiji lowly tilted her head in doubt. Humph, Shien sneered inwardly, and a single word provoked the alliance between the two who had just established, and it was still too young. Wait for me to come back obediently. The dragon wings spread out and jumped up. Shien instantly rose to the sky, then turned into a black dragon body, and flew towards the distance. Wow! On the sparkling sea, on the deck of the pirate ship without flags, stood a tall man with a naginata in his hand, with a feather cloak on his back waving in the wind. This is the young senior cadre of Rock's pirate, Whitebeard, the young Edward Newgate. Standing on the deck, Golden Lion Shiki cut the wood with a knife and carved it into the shape of a lion. As the ears heard the sound of wind and waves and the shadow gradually covered the sea, he slowly raised his head and looked at that mighty hockey. The dragon with dark purple patterned scales swooped in. Let's go. Edward Newgate took the lead to take a step forward, holding a naginata, leaping high, and then being held in his hand by a dragon claw of the black dragon. Shiki, please look at the boat and meet us on the road. Understood. Shiki looked at Edward Newgate, who was taken away by the black dragon, with a cold snort, and continued to stay on the boat to carve the wooden lion. Prison Island is just ahead. In that storm, the weather suddenly became bad, and he entered a dark environment shrouded in dark clouds. Edward Newgate saw many thunder and lightning snakes quickly passing in front of him. There were also some strange creatures in the white sea of clouds. He was the first arrived here once, at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Shien looked down at him. Are you afraid of heights? Edward Newgate laughed. I want to try it. Come on then. Shien didn't say much. In the roar of the air, it rose into the air, broke through the dark clouds in an instant, flapped the dragon's wings and rose, getting higher and faster. In an instant, the huge roar of dark clouds and storms rang across the sky, and a light of disaster was faintly visible, disappearing towards the sky. It's not bad to be able to maintain a clear state. However, I want to start accelerating too. Varied. Edward Newgate seemed to experience a stimulus he had never felt before. At this time, his eyes widened in amazement, watching the land getting smaller and smaller, not knowing where Shien was going to take him. Flying at supersonic speed, Shien's dragon scales were instantly covered with a layer of light, and the wings began to emit a strong brilliance, which looked like red flames erupting from the wings, and the speed was increased to an extremely high level. A moment hockey. Edward Newgate couldn't laugh anymore. At this time, he didn't even dare to speak for fear of his breathing. The body covered with armament hockey went straight to the end with the red flames from the wings. I can hurry up. Dragon wings assault. A trace of bioelectricity flashed on the giant wing, stimulating muscles and cells in exchange for higher explosive power. At that moment, the friction between the black dragon Shien and the air produced a flame-like winding, carrying lightning, spiraling into the sky, causing a storm. The airflow collapsed and flew towards the end of the sky with a huge force like a natural disaster. The void burned by the dragon gas seems to have left a trajectory of a comet. At the same time, the evolved scales have the ability to resist the impact and friction generated by the speed of sound. The streamlined body covered by the shining silver scales, the organs of the chest cavity. A large amount of air is introduced into the chest, which has the toughness to withstand high-intensity speed of sound. Today's Shien has unlocked a new form, the level 5 flying dragon, silver wing Tianshalong, posture. New achievement unlocked, endless flight. New achievement unlocked, an altitude of 20,000 meters. The black dragon with silver wings spewing red flames burst out at a super fast speed in the screaming sound, and instantly broke through the restraint of the air like a beam of light, surpassing the sound barrier, and as the distance opened, the gravity of the earth became more and more small, and it accelerates faster and faster. Quickly let me down. In the back, Edward Newgate almost yelled to express his inner horror and panic. This dragon, the incarnation of despair and disaster, was obviously playing with him. Can't you just fly slower? Lousy is not playing anymore. Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, who is known by the world as the strongest pirate man, showed a fear of heights at this time. Even if he is not afraid of heights, he is now afraid of heights because Xian is about to take him out of the atmosphere and arrive. The Earth's orbit is near. The oxygen began to disappear quickly. When it was almost, Xian stopped and continued to rise, but flew towards the prison island, yelling as he flew, "Can you hear clearly? The sound spreads a bit slowly here, we won't go to the prison island." "What?" Edward Newgate raised his head and shouted, "I didn't hear clearly. I said, hurry up." After Xian finished speaking, quickly folded the wings of the huge wing feet that evolved, and the wing membranes began to shrink, overlapping and folding together, in a dive posture, pulling the speed to the highest in an instant. It breaks directly through the speed of sound, flashes from the sky and then drags the remaining red tail flames, spreading in the sky. During the 1 km/s dive, Edward Newgate only felt that he was lack of oxygen, his body was burning, and armament hockey was covering his body and felt a violent burning sensation, which was very uncomfortable. Let's give them a grand debut ceremony. What's the meaning? It means, the spiral comet falls. Xian, transformed into a silver-winged fierce star, rotated his body at high speed, creating a huge storm in the process of diving, and slammed into the direction of the prison island like a burning meteorite. In an instant, on the island of the steel prison, jailers and pirate criminals were working in the nearby fields. Although the surrounding storm was still noisy, this time it was even stronger. Suddenly, they seemed to hear the roar of something falling from the sky, and they looked up. I saw a meteorite with blood-red rays burning and quickly approaching. Oh, attention everyone, there is a situation. The prison island instantly rang an emergency bell, and nearly 1,000 people ran out in horror, looking up at the falling meteor object. At that moment, the surrounding air vibrated violently, and several kilometers of huge black clouds in the sky were knocked away. The field of storm was ruthlessly broken. The comet that descended from the sky exuded a blood-red light and fell, as if to destroy everything. Seeing this scene, their expressions turned into amazement. "What the hell are you doing?" Edward Newgate yelled in anger. Why would it be dead if he rushed straight down? "Don't yell. You see, didn't I take you through the storm and hit an enemy by surprise? Otherwise, do you think we are playing a sneak game? It's better to just take the person we want and retreat." Quote, "Good fellow. You scared me to death if you didn't say it earlier." Edward Newgate understood Xian's intentions and showed a crazy smile. "You're right. It's so boring to hide. You are a real man. Do you need me to help you make a landing buffer?" "No, you throw me towards the prison, I have my own way." "Good." In an instant, the comet in the sky split into two, one fell straight toward the landing, and the other was thrown into the center of the prison. "What's the situation? Are you kidding? Is the end of the world? Hurry up." Suddenly, like the destruction of heaven and earth, Xian in the form of a silver-winged Tianxia dragon came with calamity and extinction. The sonic wave burning with raging flames swiftly passed low in the sky, flying to the ground and killing wildly. The houses of the complex of buildings fell in densely packed pieces, which looked extremely shocking. Tianwei, shaking the knife, the broken star flashed. At the moment when the sonic wave hit, Edward Newgate, who swooped down quickly from high in the sky, also drew out the naginata, aroused a strong white halo all over his body, and shock fruit's power covered the blade and sent towards the prison. Charged slash. Boom 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 boom. At this moment, it seems that the world is destroyed. Click. With the cooperation of these two, the prison island seemed to be cut by light, and it was instantly divided into two. The scorching aura of the meteorite destroyed everything with sound waves, coupled with the explosive force of Edward Newgate's explosive burst. The air wave, like a nuclear explosion, completely destroyed the prison island in an instant, and the entire island was disintegrating. It perishes in the fragmentation, and the surrounding air seems to be cracking and spreading inch by inch. This outrageous shock force carries the storm generated by the huge sonic wave and sweeps by in an instant. At this moment, it seems that the world is ruined. Boom! Edward Newgate shattered the air when he landed, and began to buffer the landing. At the same time, he ran and leapt quickly on the prison island that was shattered into countless pieces and the cracked plates that day. "John, Edward Newgate roared, and soon a voice came from the cracked seismic rift. Newgate, save me! John yelled in horror. Suddenly the island collapsed and he was frightened to death. At this time, he killed several jailers in the chaos and fled here. Come over. Come on, Marine is coming. Xian of the silver-winged celestial dragon flew over, and the huge dragon claws grabbed the figures of Edward Newgate and John from left to right, then pulled them up high and soared into the sky. Fire! Fire! The warship noticed the movement here, and the most solid prison island was actually robbed, and suddenly looked towards the sky in anger, and dense shells burst out. Leave them alone, just go. Edward Newgate slashed the Naginata, destroying the shells one after another, and pointed in one direction. Shiki is catching up with us. Get rid of Marine as soon as possible. You don't need to command me. Xian snorted, the huge wing membrane flapped, spewing out a red air current like flame accelerating. It looked extremely gorgeous, and the speed was far past the warship. My dear brother, there are you. I didn't expect such a strong prison to dare to break into it. John saw that he was safe at this time, and he immediately revealed the look of a fierce pirate. He threw out his buttons at any time and killed a few ordinary Marines. He laughed rampantly. Catch lousy idiots. Quote. Goo la 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 la. Edward Newgate laughed and looked at Xian above his head, and said, it's like a monster. Although Zone's ability is rare, it's the first time I have seen someone as fierce as you. You are not weak, you slashed the island apart and robbed me of the limelight in half. That's a new trick I made when you threw me down, or I wouldn't be able to do this alone. Edward Newgate also began to talk about each other's business. At least this rescue was quite successful. Xian looked at John at this time and said coldly, Captain John, I can save you once, and I can kill you once. Your treasure map should not lie to me. Also, how did you get caught? A silly 10th Marine named Garp caught me. I can't go if I want to. That silly fellow chased me all the way for 2 days and 2 nights, and at all costs he had to go with a guy named Sengoku. The guy caught me in Devil's Claw. John couldn't help but yelled at this moment. The man named Garp was mentally ill. He had to catch so many pirates without catching him. Garp. Edward Newgate seemed to know this man, and he said solemnly, I have heard of this guy. He is said to be a man with a sense of justice, and he is much smarter than he looks. The purpose of his arresting you should be to target Rock's pirate. It's him. John seemed to hate Garp and Sengoku very much, and said at this time, why are we Rock's pirate afraid of their 2 stinky Marines? Don't let me take the opportunity, or I will kill them all. I suggest you shut up and take me to find the treasure. Lousy doesn't want to fight with you again and Marine. Xian let out a low growl, and the huge dragon body descended towards the distant waters, but John was right. Their Rock's pirate was really disintegrated by Garp and his group. However, the current Garp is not so powerful, just a genius of Marine. Goo la 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 la. Let's not talk about this. Xian, wait until tomorrow you read the news, maybe we are going to increase the price again. Edward Newgate laughed at this moment. Together, the two of them destroyed the prison island and released so many pirates. The bounty would definitely skyrocket. Especially Xian. This time it was completely targeted by Marine, and at the same time it was marked as one of the most dangerous pirates in New World. On July 24th, New World, the prison island was destroyed. It was this prison island attack that made the great underwater prison Impel Down become Marine's only copper wall and iron wall, and the security is extremely tight. Everyone is afraid of the name Xian, the Black Dragon, and he has become famous with the spread of the reward order rise. At the same time, Grand Line, Naval Headquarters Marin Vando. Arrogant, too arrogant. Kong clenched his fists like an angry man, his knotted arm muscles burst, the terrifying armament hockey was extremely strong, and Mohegan's hair stood upright, causing the surrounding newspaper documents to go crazy because of his aura flying. It's so arrogant, pirate. In decades, no one has dared to break into the prison island so blatantly. Black Dragon Xian, Edward Newgate. I absolutely want to arrest you. Bang bang, 2 iron fists suddenly collided together. Kong is like an angry tough guy now. He can't wait to break into the New World to kill the quartet himself, but considering that he is no longer Admiral, but Marine Marshal's position, so Kong is very almost calmed down, frowned and looked at the pictures of the 2 pirates. Pass the order, let the Marine branch of New World support the prison island, catch all the pirates who escaped while taking advantage of the chaos, and send them to the Impel Down of Calm Belt. Yes, Marshal, the two senior Marine generals responded, shaken the cloak of justice, lifted their feet and walked out. Notify Sengoku that their mission has changed. Let them capture Edward Newgate, the captain of the Moby Dick of Rocks pirate. And the Black Dragon Shien, the captain of the Shien pirates. Yes, Zephyr, go ahead and hone your skills. Kong looked at the straight young Zephyr standing aside and nodded at him. Yes, Marshal, Marine Corporal Zephyr is still very immature at this time. Although he is the same person as Garp, Sengoku and Crane, he is much younger. Now he is 23 years old and hasn't even learned Marine 6 styles, but he knows armament hockey. Only, Kong is very optimistic about this young man. He looks at Zephyr's father, and Zephyr himself is very hardworking, so Kong believes that New World is a place for training people, and Zephyr should have a better growth environment in that place. For now, Sengoku is the oldest, the best grade and the most loyal, so he is Marine Vice Admiral, and the others are at most Rear Admiral level. Therefore, Sengoku is the captain of the Marine Big Three. Garp and Crane listen to him. In the eyes of Sengoku, Zephyr is a young brother, so Sengoku usually does not bring Zephyr to play with him when performing tasks, because he is afraid of injury. Zephyr is also very upset with what Sengoku thinks of him, because Zephyr has always been a very brave person. Even when a young gangster bullied a girl with a teddy bear, after being beaten by him, he was injured and never cried or yelled. At this time, Kong stared at the photo on his hand, getting more angry as he looked at it, resisting his anger and drew a mark on it. The evil dragon Shien only offered a reward of 300 million berry in the past. Kong stared at the reward order for a long time in the past, and immediately drew a cross on it, added the bounty and released it. Dragon Shien, bounties of 900 million, regardless of life or death. Edward Newgate, a bounty of 1.2 billion, regardless of life or death. After Marshal Marine's seal was put on, the documents were quickly passed to the news agency, and then thousands of copies were quickly printed. Those capable of printing fruits and ink fruits rushed to work overnight, and began to issue reward orders and newspapers in batches. For a while, the incident about the prison island became a hot topic for discussion. A tavern, a gathering place for pirates. The captain of the Shien pirate group has 900 million. Edward Newgate, too, changed from 1 billion to 1.2 billion. Although not as exaggerated as the Black Dragon, it is also very high. It is indeed one of Rock's pirates' top thugs. An island, in a village. Wow, look, it's Newgate. Has that big guy been offered a reward again? Let me see. This is the hometown of Whitebeard. Whitebeard, who went to sea and became a pirate at a young age, has been thinking about the land where he was born, so he has been sending dirty money and materials here anonymously. But people here don't know that the money was sent by Newgate because it was anonymous, but they knew that Newgate was a young man from this village. So when it comes to Newgate's name, many of the older generations in the village they all showed expressions of regret and sigh. Newgate is a very good person, but it's a pity, how could you become a pirate at a young age? No pirate is a good thing. Even young people of the same generation as Whitebeard didn't like him. After all, Whitebeard, who had no family, has no friends even on this island. No matter what people in the village think of him. Insult him, scold him, accuse him. It doesn't matter if you hate him. Because this is always his hometown for Whitebeard, he vowed to send all the treasures he was assigned to this island for the rest of his life. Although most people think he is a shame in the village, after all, some people are worried about Whitebeard and even like Whitebeard. On this basis, Whitebeard would not give up his behavior. He believed that all this would always change. New World. Swim in the sea, on the hockey warship with magnificent waves. Asshole pirates, get ready to meet my Garp's iron fist. New World fools, tremble. Despicable pirates, residual villains, tremble. Because of lousy, I'm here to catch you. On this day, Garp did not know how many times he roared at the sea. The air was stunned by his voice. It began to tremble and turned into ripples, shattered like a shattered mirror. Even the vast sea was covered. The shattered air spurred huge waves to the sky. Enough, Garp. The handsome and extraordinary Sengoku looked at the burly, tall, and bronze-skinned strong man at this time, Stop screaming, I know you are uncomfortable. The pirate who was caught within a few days was taken away, and the entire prison island was affected. But this is not your responsibility. Our mission has changed. Now it has been changed to catch the culprits Shien and Edward Newgate. Shien, Edward Newgate. Garp continued to roar as if he was breathing fire. It seemed that even the distant waves were shocked by the sound of the heroic hockey, a bit of Conqueror's hockey. It is worth mentioning that even Sengoku possesses Conqueror's hockey's king qualification, but it is not clear whether he is awakened, but he has this qualification. That little brother who slipped under my nose is now 900 million. The young and beautiful crane with long legs and a single ponytail showed a trace of annoyance at this time, and seemed to regret letting them go. I knew that I shouldn't let them go. Sorry, I made a mistake at the time. They were better than I imagined. It would be much more troublesome, but I swear that I will definitely catch this guy. I will spend my whole life. Crane has nothing to do with you, it's all Garp. Huh, Garp suddenly turned around and looked at Sengoku dissatisfiedly. Didn't you just say that it was not my responsibility? Why have you changed your mind now? Can't you be considerate of the lady? Sengoku glared at him, making Garp's expression look contemptuous. Different people are too cunning. But that's right. To deal with cunning pirates, you need a cunning marine like you. So, you have any good ideas come to mind? Regarding the behavior of these two people, he just smiled without saying a word. In her mind, as long as the three of them work together, they can definitely overcome all difficulties. Does this still need to be said? Think about it. Why did the Black Dragon Shien and Edward Newgate attack the prison island? Of course it's to save the pirate John. Is this really the case? According to the information, Captain John is very poorly known in Rock's pirate. Since he was captured, Rox himself seems to have been quiet. That is to say, he has long given up on the idea of saving John, thinking that this is the case. Not worthwhile. You mean, John is the problem? Yes, think about it. Why can he find two powerful helpers to rescue him at the same time as a pirate who is not seen by anyone? If there is no great benefit, I don't believe it. Sengoku showed wisdom in his eyes, and said in a deep voice, we need to find out what their purpose is. If we are looking for something, then we will wait for them at the destination. If it is a plan, then we will make it in advance. They cracked their strategy. Otherwise, we would have to be led by the nose. It makes sense. Garp nodded and gave a shocking message. When John was caught by me, he seemed to throw a box into the sea. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Sengoku's expression condensed and he hurriedly looked at Garp. Where is that box? Maybe it is the answer we are looking for. Garp was a little bit hesitant to say something but stopped. Seeing this, Sengoku's face sank, and the veins on his forehead violently. You shouldn't tell me, you just ignore it as rubbish. Sorry, it was a special situation at the time. I didn't think so much and chased it. I forgot exactly where it was dropped. But I remember it was near Demon Claw Town. Hurry up and find it. No, it's too late, they should have arrived in Devil's Claw Town. In this situation, we can only stop them midway to their destination. But how do we know where they are going? The northwest is the prison island, the southwest is where they came, so the remaining direction is either the northeast or the southeast. I guess it is the southeast. No matter how you look at it, it's from the northeast, right? You know what a fart, I call it reasonable analysis. You are totally against me. You scold again. Don't fight, go to the southwest. The calm and beautiful Crane interrupted all of them, and said, if they go to a particularly dangerous or troublesome place, they will definitely go back to supply resources and equip weapons first. But what if they don't go back and go directly to the destination? Stupid. Even if they accomplish their goals, they still have to get back on their boats, and we just wait for them to come back. It makes sense. As expected of Xiaohei, Sengoku, don't hold on to it, admit that your idea has loopholes. Shut up, are you messing with my mentality? Garp. Grand Line, on an uninhabited island in New World. The climate is harsh, the island has lush forests, fragrant flowers, and many strange bloodthirsty animals and plants, piranhas and bloody man-eating vines, and even creatures like tree monsters can be seen. This island looks like a paradise for plants, and at the same time it is perilous, full of green landscapes that other islands have never had. Of course, there are certainly no strange creatures such as the pea shooter and the potato wall. Most of them are huge insects and special plants that grow. After all, there is another name here, called Devil's Island, which is a treasure trove of pirates. The island is full of creatures that have never seen human beings. Swamps and wetlands are covered by forests, surrounded by the sea, full of bold vitality. Occasionally a few sea kings can be seen rolling in the sea in the distance. But the tranquility here was destroyed in the next instant. Rumbling. Golden Lion Shiki drew his sword abruptly, and instantly slashed out the sword energy enough to cut through the huge mountain-like vine group. The large forests collapsed together, the sword energy flew into the sky, and after drawing an arc in the air, it reached several kilometers away. Wow! The frightened birds rioted with sea kings and insects, and began to flee around, flying everywhere without panic, choosing their way. Crack! A punch hit the void, cracking like a mirror. The air in front of Edward Newgate was shattered by him, and this shocking force also spread to the deep Yamanaka, and the huge mountains began to split densely, showing a clearly visible gap. Chi. The shattered giant mountain was suddenly covered by a pair of huge dragon claws. As the terrifying force erupted, the entire mountain was torn apart from the center, turning into countless broken stones and exploding, revealing the inside. Case. Jump down together. Golden Lion opened the way. Whitebeard destroyed the mountain structure. Shien completely destroyed it physically, and John, who was wearing a prisoner's uniform, took the treasure map he picked up from Magic Claw Town and began to study. Good. Whitebeard didn't even think about it. He immediately followed Shien and jumped into the huge pit in the mountain. The surrounding area began to light up in an instant. There seemed to be many crystals shining. Sure enough, as John said, there are many treasures and treasures here, wealth. An island full of gold and silver turned out to be a treasure trove for pirates. Shien grabbed it with a big hand, and thousands of gold coins slipped between her fingers. Seeing a large piece of gold here, there were many gems and minerals, as if she had made a fortune. You divide it. Golden Lion Shiki gave a cold snort at this time, folded his hands on his shoulders, and stood proudly. Lousy is not rare for this little money. This point, Shien smiled and didn't say anything. Sure enough, the old pirate has a high-sightedness, but don't try to kill and overturn goods, because everyone in this room has 2 brushes except John, who is a rookie. First of all, Whitebeard would not do such a thing. With him, Golden Lion would not make a sneak attack. 50% is mine. Shien directly divided the gold coin stack into 2 and took it into his arms. For the remaining 50%, John has 3 points and Edward has 2 points. I have no opinion. Whitebeard looked at the nearly 2 tons of treasure and nodded. There was a lot of this. Captain Shien, I didn't lie to you. John looked at the gold greedily at this time, and then smiled at Shien. However, compared with the information in my hand, these golds are just a drop in the bucket. Oh, at this moment, not only Shien, but also Whitebeard and Golden Lion also pricked their ears and looked at John. What's the meaning? These 5 tons of gold are already very good for Shien, but John had no better news. Do you remember how I was arrested? What is the crime? Steal Celestial Dragon's secrets. Yes. John showed a wicked smile. He licked the corner of his mouth and said, for this news, I didn't have to spend much time. How about it? Do you want to cooperate with me again? But this plan, it's a bit big. The more people participate, the better. I originally planned to tell Captain Rox about them, but now, I want to take the initiative. Tell me. With wealth and danger in demand, Shien decided to listen to John's plan. John, you guy. Whitebeard frowned. Real or fake? Golden Lion's eyes sharpened. In fact, after seeing Shien and Whitebeard, they got so much gold, even if he really didn't care, he still looked a little sad. Have you heard of heavenly gold? John's words made other people realize that they were planning to rob the heavenly gold, but it wouldn't be enough for so many people to participate. As far as I know, Tianshengjian pays 1 trillion berry to celestial dragons every year. Hearing this, everyone else seemed to have guessed what John said next. But who knows, John suddenly changed his face, and he was caught off guard. Do you know where all the gold has been remitted these days? Where? It's an extremely mysterious place. It not only has a storage of 1 trillion yuan of heavenly gold every year, but also many rare and ancient treasures, which can make a person the huge property of the world's richest man in an instant. The others were instantly attracted by John's words, and now there were only endless numbers of treasures in their eyes. And finally, for so many years, I have inquired about its name, the Valley of the Gods. The legendary place where the celestial dragon's national treasure is hidden. When John said this, it seemed that the air had changed in vain, and everyone was silent for an instant. Valley of Gods. Was that the place where Rock's pirate was wiped out in the original work? After this battle, all of them were disbanded, leaving Rox on the stage of the old age, and Roger took the opportunity to ascend to the throne of One Piece and began the era of the big pirates. It was also in this battle that Rox was caught off guard and ended in a hasty end to the King of the Seas. Original. The ghost is John. It was this guy who stabbed the pirate crew of the whole group. No wonder he was stabbed so many knives in the stomach by others after he died. Valley of Gods. Whitebeard's brows are still frowning, and he doesn't seem to want to participate in this matter. I'm not interested in those treasures. For me, the money is enough to spend, too much is unnecessary. Captain Xian, what do you think? Me, I'll think about it. After all, John has only found out its name now. I don't know where it is. When you really find the place in the Valley of Gods, I will consider working with you again. Interesting, then let me do it too. The Golden Lion, who was disdainful of treasures, couldn't help but decided to participate. Son. Chapter 71. Total Blockade. The man's indifferent voice carries endless majesty. Yes, block off the waters near Devil's Claw Island, they will definitely come back here. Marines waved their flags and began to act mightily. Several warships began to sail side by side. The goal was Xian and Edward Newgate. This group of people is Sengoku and others. They went around and searched their homes. The sea near Devil's Claw Island is where Xian and Whitebeard must return, because Xian's ship is parked near an island town behind Devil's Claw Island. On the one hand, the two of them destroyed the prison island and made Marine Marshal Kong very angry. This is a provocation to Marine's Majesty. Admiral did not come, but Admiral alternate. Sengoku's current combat power is not inferior to the current Admiral, at least it has the power of Quasi-Admiral, not to mention Garp. Even the seemingly feminine Crane has an extremely accurate sniper ability. On weekdays, the pirates dare to act recklessly and ignore Marine and world government. This can be tolerated, but now that they have directly bombed their prison island, it is already clear that war is about to go. If Marine doesn't have a bit of action, how can he deter everyone? Therefore, Sengoku and the others were here to arrest them. Several huge warships stood side by side in a line of obscurity, waiting for them. Coming. Marine, who was in charge of the observation, looked through the binoculars and saw that a ship full of gold was approaching, and began to report the distance quickly. The target is in attack range. The shells are filled. Fire. The black rain of bullets covered the sky at this time, causing Xian, Whitebeard and others who were on the flagless pirate ship to raise their heads and look coldly at this side. It's Marine. The four of them instantly recognized the identity of the person who came. At this time, watching those shells flying, Xian was about to transform into a black dragon, and suddenly saw the gold on the ship. Forget it, I will guard the ship. Stop attacking. Really, money is the most important thing. Xian gave up the move to rush up. He was worried that there would be a problem with the gold. Although he could make other people take care of the ship, Xian didn't trust these guys. He had to hold his own wealth in his hands, and other people didn't care. Get out, I'll come. Golden Lion Shiki's voice is like a cold current in the air. As the pressure spreads, it exudes a terrifying haki. Pirate, I want to arrest you. Garp yelled frankly. It's so noisy and annoying. Go to hell, Marine. The Golden Lion leapt to the bow of the ship, then jumped high. The figure instantly reached an altitude of tens of meters, stepping on the flying shells and leaping to the heights, seeming to be looking for a commanding height to launch a big move. Shiki, the bloody swordsman of Rock's pirate. A strange look flashed in Sengoku's eyes, and then his face changed slightly, as if he realized something. At this time, he solemnly looked at the figure of the Golden Lion high in the sky ahead. Lion, Thousand Slice Valley. Boom. Just listen to the sound of boom, like a tsunami collapses, the sky collapses, and the 5 lion claw-like sword auras that are powerful enough to cut hundreds of kilometers of the sea are attacked, and the lethality can instantly tear the warship apart, cut off the flow of the sea, and even the clouds showed the cracks of lion claws. Death. Garp roared like thunder, but before he came forward, a dazzling golden light enveloped hundreds of feet of brilliance, and then a huge god and Buddha appeared, carrying an extremely vigorous momentum. In an instant, Sengoku turned into a golden giant Buddha. His whole body seemed to explode with countless air waves, and instantly became extremely huge. White clouds overflowed around him, and as the palm of the Tathagata was photographed fiercely, the lion's claw sword was blocked outside the warship, and the next moment the sea exploded, earth-shattering. Rumble rumbling. The affected sea water also burst into pieces. The ordinary marines screamed in horror, and the warship shook violently. The dark clouds in the sky rolled, as if a lion's mouth opened, and billions of tons of seawater roared, turning into a pouring rain and falling. The originally calm sea turned into agitated and boiling at this moment. I underestimated your strength, the genius of Marines Elite, Sengoku of Buddha. Golden Lion recognized Sengoku's identity. You should. The words stopped suddenly, and the golden giant Buddha showed an angry man's threat at this time. His body was illuminated with golden light, and a giant palm that fell from the sky shot towards the pirate ship behind Golden Lion. Put down the butcher knife and die immediately. Sengoku is not a kind person. To treat evil is to crush them with absolute power. Physical transcendence is his best method. In this era, the reason why Sengoku of the Buddha is so frightening is that he typed it out instead of speaking it out with a single mouth. Come and try it. Golden Lion sneered, when a voice came from behind him. Gu la 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 la. Sengoku, do you remember me? When I first became a pirate, it was the first reward you reported to me. Vaguely, the sound of the air trembling came from behind the Golden Lion. Then, Edward Newgate exerted his strength at his feet and jumped onto the bow, looking up at the huge golden giant Buddha in front of him, as if confronting the devil. The momentum climbed to a peak. During the confrontation between the two sides, an abrupt voice sounded, full of warnings. Who the hell dares to use conquerors? I will kill someone. Suddenly there was another roar. The tall black dragon Shien appeared on the deck, piled with gold behind him, and he said loudly, fight back and fight back, don't make jokes with gold. Don't forget our purpose, Edward. And Shiki, are you two okay? Don't worry, leave it to me. Whitebeard gave Shien a okay look and said that he would not use Conqueror's Haki. Because Conqueror's Haki confrontation can already create substantial physical attack power, it is an attack method that cannot be fully defended in a large area. Take the ship under Shien as an example, it will definitely be unbearable to crack, resulting in gold falling into the sea. It was unlucky then. Because the gold coins are relatively scattered, there is nothing to load, and Shien can't fly away with him. Otherwise, why did he take a boat? He would have already run away by himself. Shien. Suddenly the figure of the sixth man appeared on Marine's battleship, and the tall, single ponytailed beauty with a sniper rifle on one shoulder made her debut. Then, under the gaze of everyone, she went to the height of the ship's deck and looked directly at this side. I said that as long as you do bad things, I will be the first to arrest you. Sneer ha 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 ha. Shien's voice is cold and calm, and provocatively said, it's up to you. 3-3, come on. At this moment, both sides found an opponent in the grid. Whitebeard vs Sengoku. Golden Lion vs Garp. Shien vs Crane. Humph. Suddenly, the young and beautiful female marine quickly looked for a sniper spot. Her single ponytail was raised high behind her, and her vigorous pace began to move quickly on the warship. Fast-moving, armor-piercing bullets, accurate headshot, armament Haki entangled. There was a sound like a broken string in the air, and more than a few bullets per second broke through a long distance and arrived in front of Shien. Boom boom boom. Under the application of Shien's advanced skills, time and space stagnated for a few seconds. The bullet seemed to be slow motion, slowing down in the air, and he also captured the trajectory of the bullet. The figure flashed quickly, and the dragon's arm covered with a layer of dark red. Haki quickly grabbed these bullets in his hands, and then the flow of time returned to normal. Varied. He looked forward in amazement. From her perspective, Shien grabbed all the bullets with different trajectories in her hand in just a moment, and then squeezed them into scrap. Whether it's sniper, burst, or cannonball, you can try it. Is your bullet fast? Or I move fast? Can you hurt me, woman? Try it. Looking at the tall figure and squinting her narrow and beautiful eyes, the marine beauty began to use her mind to crack Shien's observation Haki defense with strategy and tactics. Bring it on. Is it a dragon or a terrifying monster? There were bursts of sharp, harsh and cold low laughter in the air. At this time, John looked at Xian's body getting bigger and bigger, and seemed to realize that he was about to transform, and suddenly said, "Don't worry. Leave it to me here. Anyway, I am also a 700 million pirate. Sengoku, cover me." After seeing Xian transform into a black dragon form, Suru immediately understood his intentions. At this time, Garp and Sengoku quickly moved closer to her and gathered on the same warship. The three of them were guarding their surroundings back to back. Golden Lion and Whitebeard thought at this time, fight them in close combat, but the sea is not land. It is very difficult to do without a boat and can't fly, you can only harass from a distance. Edward Newgate. Under Sengoku's tight, sharp eyebrows, there was a pair of eyes that were not afraid. The golden Buddha light all over his body clearly emerged, emitting a dazzling light, as if it was about to break through his skin and fly out, for fear that he suddenly shouted a great mighty dragon. "Ha ha ha, are you dissatisfied? You know you are not my opponent, so you dare to step forward like this. Do you really think I can't help you?" Sengoku. Whitebeard leapt high at this time. The huge black dragon Xian whirled and flicked his tail, blasted him high and flew away, and slashed towards the huge golden Buddha with the Naginata Kongyan. Not satisfied, so what? Sengoku of Buddha converged his mind, suppressed the anger in his heart. A circle of golden ripples appeared on the surface of his body, gently spreading around him, like a means of strengthening attack and defense, like a golden bell jar. "Then let you kneel and walk obediently." Whitebeard didn't seem to be fighting Sengoku for the first time, but he didn't change much. He jumped down and shot quickly. He clenched his left fist and covered it with a halo. The fist burst out with a charge, and the shock wave collided with the fist of the golden Buddha. At the same time, immediately, the air wave broke out, and the power was fierce, causing the two sides to retreat half a step, and Whitebeard landed on the edge of the warship to confront Sengoku. "It seems you are nothing but that, idiot." On the Golden Lion side, Garp's offensive was so strong that Armament Hockey's fists and Golden Lion's double swords collided with each other, making a banging sound. The speed of the two was extremely fast, and the attack speed was extremely high. There is no sense of power like Whitebeard and Sengoku, but a visual explosion of light and shadow. Because in that second, you couldn't see whether it was more fist shadows or sword shadows, or the two were evenly matched. At this time, fighting each other did not show their true ability, but was testing each other. Why, is there a problem? At this time, the black dragon Xian clenched his dragon fist, turned into a human form and fell on the railing of the warship. Hockey was extraordinary. If you don't beg for mercy, I will tear you apart now. Come after me, man. At this time, the young female Marine retreated and did not confront her head on. She was the shooter in Marine's lineup, which is the so-called ADC. The bullets entangled Armament Hockey. The average little pirate basically shot and shot with a headshot. It's just that she chose the wrong opponent and chose a black dragon Xian with strong defensive and offensive power. If I don't come up with some means, you don't know what level you are. This is what you asked for. As soon as Xian finished speaking, the hurricane and the storm raged, and a pair of dragon wings stretched out behind him, bursting out air waves. The huge pillar let the surroundings be covered by the blood-red vortex of flames. Seeing such a scene, anyone's mind is blank. He instantly realizes that he is invincible, so he no longer entangles, but retreats and fights, fighting with Xian. Run, keep running. The terrifying dragon claws kept tearing apart the cabin of the warship. Xian chased the female Marine like a monster and rampaged in the cabin. The surrounding steel and hardwood were as fragile as tofu in his eyes, and the steel was at best mud. Like a block, the iron-cutting dragon claws ruthlessly tore room after room. At this time, the clang and clang bullets crashed continuously behind him, and the steel scale defense began to fly and spin, creating a dragon shield to defend against the bullets. When he saw a figure flicking, Xian shouted loudly, "I caught you." In a hurry, Crane had only time to make the strongest move, and was almost cut into two pieces. His dark blue pupils showed a touch of terror, and his serious expression completely disappeared. Wash the fruit, disperse maliciously. In an instant, the terrified female Marine watched the oncoming dragon's claws brush against the tip of her nose, tearing the floor behind her. What's wrong with me? When Xian was about to kill her, she suddenly had a thought that it would be a shame for such a beautiful girl to be killed like this, and then change the direction of the attack. Fine, Crane panted with a big mouth. At this time, he was sitting backwards and paralyzed on the floor, looking at the figure of the tall dragon who was approaching. Her ability can also wash away people's evil a little, and make people's evil weaker. Therefore, Xian's malice has been washed away, and now it has no such tyrannical mentality but has become more humane. Do you think you can escape this way? Also, although your mind is purified, you are a pirate after all, and you are opposed to marine. Although I can wash away your evil thoughts, I cannot change this essence, but this is enough, at least mine. Ability will affect you for a long time and will not continue to do evil. At the same time, there was a violent vibration outside, as if some terrifying power had erupted. There was a loud bang, and a sword aura ripped apart, breaking the position of Xian and Crane at the waist, agitating hundreds of roads more than 10 meters wide outside. Golden Lion and Garp have already shot out their blood. Golden Lion yelled, "Stop playing with them, Lousy is going to zoom in." Me too. Whitebeard didn't want to continue entangled with Sengoku at this time, and backed up angrily. In that case, give them one final blow. Xian jumped onto the deck at this time, and then his body began to become huge, transforming into another dragon pose. Come close to me. Xian transformed from the second stage of the black dragon form into the posture of the silver-winged Tianxia dragon. The sharp claws emitting cold light, under the huge wings of the red dragon gas, approached Whitebeard and Golden Lion at a very fast speed. Take them high into the air, and then throw them in the direction of the warship. No, they are going to show off. The giant golden Buddha roared and sensed the threat of horror, and suddenly cold sweat began to flow. Zero. That's too late. The three of Whitebeard, Golden Lion, and Xian have already started to accumulate their power at this time, and their respective powers burst out in an oblique manner. At that moment, the void shattered, bursting out with a great light. Tianwei, shaking the knife broken, lion split wave, falling from the sky flame claws. The sword energy that is powerful enough to cut through hundreds of kilometers of the sea, the terrifying slash that can smash the sea in the air, and the flaming dragon claw that tears everything and burns everything, the combined skills of the three can be called an extremely terrifying level. Can you stop it? At the same time, the 100-foot-tall golden Buddha felt tremendous pressure at this time, and even a fatal threat. At this time, he tried his best to defend against all this, and roared, "Garp! Protect the crane!" In an instant, Sengoku smiled horribly at Garp. His eyes were as dead as a dying candle. Under the horrified gaze of other people, a terrifying kamui broke out. Even if it's only for a second, I will stand at the most ahead, buy time for more people. Sengoku. Garp's eyes blushed for an instant, but then the enemy's combined skills struck in an instant. In an instant, there was only a huge explosion and roar left between the sky and the earth. I don't know how many tons of seawater was stirred up. Under the power of terror, Golden Light the giant Buddha quickly lost its color, eclipsed it, and finally disappeared. There is no pain, no shouting, there was no scream. As if nothing had happened, the world was roaring, and the eyes were blinded by strong light. Only a few people saw the shocking scene that was indelible in a lifetime. The intense incandescent light distorted the sky. The entire sea was raging, and as far as you could see, the shocking force twisted the air. The flames of the dragon's claws evaporate the bottom of the sea, and the lion's sword aura cut away in all directions. That's exploding. Nearly 100 marines evaporated out of thin air, and the charred and fragmented corpses were mixed with the debris of the warship, and there were tsunami waves everywhere. The sea that stretched for tens of kilometers was shaking, extremely shocking and terrifying. Unstoppable. Seeing the picture of marines' complete defeat, Xian, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion all showed terrible smiles at the same time, and everything in front of them was destroyed. In the huge waves, the residues of those warships drifted on the sea, and the figures of Sengoku and others had long since disappeared. They were obviously submerged by the sea, and they did not live or die. Justice is often not as simple as speaking out. If you can't do even the most basic intelligence work, you dare to provoke the New World pirates, it's stupid. It doesn't matter what you will do, but now you are nothing. The reason for Marine's failure was that they did not notice factors other than the information of Golden Lion. With the combination of the three Sea Kings, why do they think they can defeat the enemy? Just relying on Garp's passion? Or is it based on Sengoku's unpredictable 1-3, or is it the female marine who lacks powerful means of killing? But anyway, for the three of Shien, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion, the marine attack was just an episode. After solving them, they returned to John's boat and headed for the nearby island. Soon after they left, with a puff, a man covered in blood came out of the sea. He carried a man with horrible and confused bloodstains on his shoulder. At this time, Sengoku had lost too much blood and passed out, and his body was covered with terrible wounds. The bones are deeply visible, and the blood flow does not stop. Hold on, don't die. The tough guy Garp was already crying at this time. In order to protect them, Sengoku even prepared for self-sacrifice. This is the price that both sides have to pay for their misjudgment of strength. On the other side, Crane poked her head out of the sea very weakly, grabbed Garp's arm, and looked at the destroyed warships and broken corpses around her. Her eyes were full of pain, and she looked at it with tears streaming down her face. To the battered Sengoku who has no skin. Don't shake him. He has lost too much blood, let him stop the bleeding. How to do it? Can I use my blood? Quickly draw my blood to him. Crane, you are the best at saving people, you can definitely save him. Where did Garp still have his previous confident and arrogant expression, with a panic expression on his face, and his most important friend and longtime partner died in front of him like this, which was a big blow to him. Let us get out of the sea first. What's more, your blood type may not be right. Let's take him to the nearby island for help. Good. Garp carried Sengoku and carried the crane. At this time, he stepped on the moonwalk to rise step by step. At this time, he looked ahead and stared at the direction of the distant island. No matter how far away, no matter how tired, even if it is physically exhausted, and the last breath is exhausted, he will not give up the person on him, otherwise he will hate himself for the rest of his life. It's useless to cry, but it can't be controlled. Garp knows only anger in his heart and is no longer the way he used to be. He is now afraid. Because he knows to be afraid, he understands that human beings have limits. The pirates that were once dealt with on the Grand Line are just slaps, black dragons. Shien, Edward Newgate, and Golden Lion Shiki used absolute power to teach Garp three people a lesson: arrogance comes at a price. It was precisely because of this tragic defeat that Garp, Sengoku and Crane thoroughly remembered this unforgettable shame, and thus doubled their training, a shame. Since then, Garp changed. No longer reckless, but more calm. Sengoku is also more wise and smart after walking through the hell juncture, and will never take risks without absolute certainty. Crane has also grown up. She is no longer eager and dare not to rely on a small one. If a problem is not dealt with in time when she is very young, it will slowly expand and become more and more serious. In a sense, their belief is that they are stronger than Shien, Whitebeard and Golden Lion, and have a higher chance of winning. Because the three of them are conjoined Ishin, and the pirates are all calculating each other, and the interests are the top priority. Although the individuals of Golden Lion, Whitebeard and Shien are stronger, they can't form an alliance, so as long as the big three of Marine go in a group, the three who catch the single, still have the hope of revenge. But then again, in this battle, the biggest winner is probably John, who can earn 3 tons of gold in vain. The biggest loser in the audience was Golden Lion, who didn't get a dime, and became a free correspondent and had a fight. The person with the highest income is Shien, 5 tons of gold, but a lot of money. Whitebeard has the strongest assist, has a very high participation rate, and also experienced a trapeze. Marine here. 3 warships were sunk, nearly 1,000 people were missing, the loss was huge, and the big 3 was hit hard. After this incident ended, Shien's notoriety was once again elevated to a very high level, which also caused rocks. Attention! The above is the Battle of Devil's Claw Island, and it is also the foundation for the notorious and brilliant Shien pirates in the near future. In Marshal Marine's office, on the dimly lit seat, 2 tall figures sat next to each other. Marshal Marine Gu Kong's expression was extremely gloomy. The 2 geniuses of Marine almost fell in Devil's Claw, which made him feel even more angry with the pirates' arrogance and domineering. Then, 2 Marine Admiral, the great swordsman among the 3 heroes, came one after another and learned about it. If they are the enemy of the world, the strength of Rock's pirate alone cannot be underestimated, so compared to Edward Newgate and Golden Lion Shiki, our entry point should be on the Black Dragon Xian. So, who of you is willing to complete this task and hate Marine? The tall figure on the dim seat, the young man with the corner of his mouth raised slightly, his head slightly raised, with incomparably amazing eagle-like eyes, and the supreme sharp knife in his hand seems to be faintly trembling. He said, "It's just a matter of killing. It's too simple. But it's hard to say if you catch people back alive, so, Marshal, do you want him to come back alive or to be buried in the sea?" On Marshal Marine's seat, Ji Kong spoke. "The captain is alive or dead, but if possible, even the members of his entire pirate group will be captured." Good. When the man's slightly squinted eyes were completely opened, a purple golden light flashed across his body, and it surged all over his body in just an instant, and at the moment when the electric light was circulating, there was a bang, bursting out the explosion of friction between himself and the air. Sounds. His figure disappeared in the same place instantly. As the strongest genius who has applied Marine's 6 styles to shave, his speed has improved to an ultimate level. That guy still likes to fight strong enemies as always. Another tall man also smiled at this time. The sword in his hand is more inclined to Western rapier, Marine Admiral, which is called the fastest sword in the world. The 3 of them, known as Kong, in the past, the current Marshal, one of the 3 heroes, has a strong sense of righteousness, and his motto, "How about even after 60 years of age? Don't look down on people, pirate." The current Marine Admiral, Thunder Sword, Ulster Mahawk, one of the 3 heroes. Known as the world's strongest swordsman, he likes to challenge the strong. His motto, "The more dazzling the light, the shorter the life." The current Marine Admiral, Unparalleled Heart Sword, Cruz Rousant, one of the 3 heroes. Known as the fastest swordsman in the world, he is melancholy and lonely all day long, and his motto, "In the long search, if it were not for the support of a ray of obsession, perhaps I would have turned into a pile of bones." All 3 of them have their own stories, but I won't mention them now. As for the vacant 3rd Admiral, Kong intends to put Sengoku on top, but now that something happened to Sengoku, it is temporarily shelved. He also deliberately promoted Garp and Zephyr, but considering many issues, and Garp was only thinking about Sengoku at this time, so the 3rd Marine Admiral, let's wait for the future. At night, board the giant Tyrannosaurus. Escaped. A flat voice sounded, with a slight disappointment in his tone. Quote. "There is no way. Those little pirates didn't dare to confront us at all. Now, Captain, you are the big pirate who has been offered a reward of 900 million berry." The man's sharp eyes looked at the direction the pirate was rushing away. "Tis, tell me the location of the next target." "The next location is, sorry, the record pointer is out of order. Even the pioneers should not be so unlucky. Check the backup record pointer immediately. It is necessary to investigate whether the information is as they say. We must find the legendary island immediately. After that, the place to go is Elephant Island. Zo." Xian looked at the woman standing by behind. It was a non-human beauty with a blonde shawl and profound features. The black and white apron she was wearing was very large, and the skirt was a calm-made outfit with a long skirt. He is about 6.7 meters tall and has a slender figure with a very eye-catching figure. The overall feeling is gentle and elegant. As a boatman, Tice also helps Xian to convey some words. She is the captain's intimate assistant and the strongest tool person. How about them? Xian looked around. Not here. The 2 lowlies' figures should usually be seen here. At this moment, the eyes suddenly saw something. "Captain!" With the shout, a figure jumped down from the highest point of the railing. The shadow that jumped from a height of tens of meters, after spinning a few times in the sky, landed steadily as if it had grown wings. She didn't use any auxiliary means, she just used physical skills. A slight bend of bare feet eliminated the impact of the figure, revealing a proud expression. "Yeah, reach out to show the victorious scissor hand." The person who fell from the sky was a teenage girl with a jade-like smile on her face, with immature characteristics, and a lovely appearance of both a mermaid and a girl. It seems that long silver hair is scattered around the shoulders, and the hair that reflects the moonlight around is like an angel's halo. The sea blue eyes looked gleaming ahead. Report. Normal wind direction, normal ocean current, comfortable temperature, suitable for swimming. Oye, sorry. Tis couldn't help cheering, but after remembering that Xian didn't know how to swim, she smiled bitterly and stroked her blonde hair, and held it back. Keep looking for the target, Carol. No problem. Carol, a megalodon mermaid with pointed ears and snow-white skin, is comparable to elves. On her back and on her wrists, there are Shiji's white fins. When she laughs, she has sharp white teeth that make people shudder, contrary to the innocent expression. She is wearing a breathing mask in front of her, which looks like a metal texture of biochemical technology, and she wears a crystal pendant on her neck, which contains Xian's life paper, which she forced to add. In addition, there is a special bracelet for heart rate detection. Hey, did Carol pass the navigator exam? Although the tone was slightly mature, but an unusually young voice sounded. Then the shape of the flame door appeared out of thin air, and a female figure slowly appeared from the door. Wearing a black and red dress that looks very soft, the skirt is puffed up and looks very heavy. The upper body is dressed in a cardigan with fine gold silk edges and patterned ribbons, and long lace gloves are worn on the hands, so no skin is exposed. Under a pair of curved dragon horns and a pair of small and devilish dragon wings, the facial features that can only be described as peerless beauty are quite exquisite, as if they were from the hands of the creator, and the beautiful face showed a sincere expression of admiration. The crimson eyes exuding the cold jewel-like light, and the long golden red hair gleaming under the reflection of the stars. Because he was jokingly torturing another person at this time, his crimson eyes exuded joyful eyes. Appearance is about 15 years old or even younger. The childish appearance is like a girl with gorgeous, cute and beautiful appearance, but the heart and mouth development does not match the age, and it appears to be tall and bulging. As the deputy captain, Hina's personality is somewhat similar to Xian. Arrogance seems to be a common problem of the dragon clan, and there is an indescribable sense of superiority in the sight of all sentient beings. Regardless of her position on the ship or her combat power, Hina is far ahead of others. By the way, her devil fruit ability has now also been developed and embodied, with strong destructive characteristics. Of course, I'm an unforgettable genius. It's just that I can't understand many words. Carol thought that Hina was complimenting her, and she was unabashedly happy at this time. It's funny that I can't read and speak so arrogantly. I am a thorough master. Armament hockey's application skills can be wrapped around other objects. Hina is more proud than Carol's innocence. Oh, really? Xian's gaze came over, and the proud girl suddenly had an arrogance, and the hostility disappeared instantly, revealing a gentle attitude like expecting to be pampered. Have you really learned armament hockey's advanced application skills? Can it be released? Ah, outside. Hina blinked and seemed to have heard this word for the first time. Could it be that hockey could be released outside? Armed colors are able to defend against certain fruits to a certain extent, but not all. Secondly, the amount of armed colors differs from person to person. The more the amount of hockey, the higher the strength of the armed colors, and the attack-defense range of the armed colors the bigger it is. Armament hockey has many different techniques, which can be refined into 4 types: hardening, winding, external release, and internal destruction. Speaking of this, Xian lifted his hand with 10 fingers full of different rings. At this time, each ring was instantly covered with a layer of dark red deep hockey, which was extraordinary. Besides, he also has exquisite decorations such as necklaces, gauntlets, boots, cloaks, tops, etc. From the perspective of money, all they wear are the best products with amazing value, which means nouveau riche 5 tons. Gold is sold for too much money, everyone puts on new clothes. Come on, Hina, punch me. No. I know I was wrong. Never show off anymore. Since Hina was trained by the devil, she has been psychologically overshadowed by Xian's punch me, because she knows that Xian will be exposed to the dangers of carnivorous nature at any time with this punch. The one who suffers will always be her. It's okay, I won't transform into a dragon form. I do not believe. Hina shook her head vigorously, her eyes filled with suspicion. After all, she was afraid of being bullied. Really, come on, push harder. Xian did not hesitate to reveal the place she had no defense, and Hina squinted at his calm expression. After observing for a long time, after not seeing Ni Duan, she suddenly smiled like a devil. She felt that she was again okay. Really not fighting back. Don't fight back. Really not defensive. Not defensive. Okay then. Hina nodded, took a few steps back, and then took a deep breath. A crimson glow gradually burst from her right hand wearing a long lace glove, followed by the cyan armament hockey instantly covering her body. At the same time, a shocking electric light was stirred up. This is. Xian looked at the red-haired girl in surprise, who also seemed to have a successful smile. For so many years, I am waiting for this day. Behind the red-haired girl appeared a huge red lotus roaring dragon shadow. Although the power of this kind of power penetrated makes people feel terrified, it still attracted Xian's attention for a moment. Hina, who was injected with unknown energy, exudes a strong golden light. The high load power is too heavy, and even the skin shows signs of runaway. But looking at Hina's confident look, it seems that she can easily control this. Mysterious abilities are for your own use. What's the meaning? I mean, Xena, who was in the red dragon demon posture, moved at high speed at this time, and suddenly jumped up at the moment of running. With the help of huge inertia and speed, she swooped down and waved her dragon fist. Xian. I am no longer the one. The weak one can only be bullied by you. How dare you call him by name? Crazy. Hina is crazy. Tis showed an incredibly exaggerated expression, looking at the deputy captain Hina, who dared to rebel against the captain in horror, as if she still expected the ending. Are you proving something to me? Xian put away the inner surprise, but stood as solid as a rock. When the mysterious energy hovering in Hina's hand was blasted with great power, the fierce red flame engulfed Xian in an instant. The figure is extremely terrifying. No way. Seeing Xian being swallowed by Hong Yan, Tyson Carlos froze in a stunned place. Why suddenly Hina was so fierce that she dared to beat the captain and her brother? All counterattack. At the moment when that power swallowed Xian, the fighting spirit in his heart had suppressed everything in his heart, and the unprecedented excitement made his whole body tremble. Can he use this power for his own use? But it doesn't seem to work. This is the power that Hina didn't know how to merge into, and it didn't belong to any of the natural elements. But, are you underestimating me, my stupid sister? Although this force is sufficient to threaten Xian, it is too scattered and does not have the slightest combat level. When hit by the battle, Xian's ability is activated for an instant. At that instant, the newly unlocked full counterattack defense will turn all the damage it has suffered into a shock wave and bounce back. Boom! A huge shock wave enveloped Xena's body, and her sudden powerful counterattack also made her instantly awaken her wild instinct. In the intense red lotus flames, a pair of huge red jade-like dragon pupils lit up. At this moment, Hina, who was incarnate as a great red dragon, was dyed red with blood, showing the realness in the air of hellfire. The posture makes the surrounding sky seem to be dyed crimson, as if the end is coming. Brother Xian, accept my challenge. Success or failure is not important anymore, this kind of stimulating challenge has made her desperate. Roar ang 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 ang. Hina was shrouded in scarlet scales that were extremely bright even in the dark, like the incarnation of the fire burning in the red lotus. A pair of huge horns on his head point to the sky, and on his back there are 6 huge red lotus wings shining incomparably light. It is the legendary Big Red Dragon, considered the incarnation of angry Satan. When angry, it will shake the earth, and even the sky will be burned by it, announcing the end of the world due to his skyrocketing anger. Therefore, the Big Red Dragon was also dyed red because of the anger that broke through a certain limit, and awakened due to the limit of anger, and the anger caused the self to be forgotten. 6 dragon wings exuding more vivid colors than burning flames are raised high behind, and the head has the evil eyes of the demon god burning with rebellion and vengeance. The twisted double horns are even more known as the indestructible proof of repeated destruction and regeneration. Compete with me, Xian. Hina, who was eager to prove herself, challenged the captain's brother. Her whole body exuded god-like anger and turned everything into ashes, wrapped her body with demon-like anger, with scorching red flames and crimson. All the meteors will be classified as ashes. This is the true face of the Eudemons, incarnation of Satan Great Red Dragon. No, next time. Surprisingly, Xian refused directly. But, Hockey's Red Dragon Queen suddenly became at a loss. The huge dragon body wanted to say nothing, not knowing what to say. There was an unspeakable contrast. Who can imagine that the evil Hockey's 6-winged dragon who descended like a hell demon at this moment suddenly showed a sluggish expression, the momentum disappeared, and he became at a loss. My younger sister has grown up, and now she's starting to beat her brother. I'm very chilling, Hina. Woo, sorry. The big red dragon immediately lowered his head, revealing a gentle, as if afraid of being scolded. You are already a mature person, you should learn to control yourself. Dahong Genshin looked up at Xian with fear. This incredible and arrogant dragon girl showed rich expression changes in front of Xian's eyes, and her cheeks were puffed out as if she was saying, "It's all your fault." Okay, let's not talk about it. Xian smiled and looked at Hina, who pretended to puff her cheeks. By the way, what happened to that power just now? Are you talking about Yunwen? You just need to combine hockey with the redness of the heart of the fruit and inject it into the human body. Hina returned to her adult form, and she was excited as if she was showing her new discovery. It will be very painful at first, but in the pain, the body will become more active, just like this. Suddenly, Hina's body surface is circulated with golden lightning light, strong hockey fusion mysterious energy, which greatly strengthens the body's defense, attack and speed, etc., a bit similar to Xian's blood rage, and stimulates cells to enter through the injured pain. The high-speed activation state can continuously regenerate and heal, and the attack power is greatly improved. Because I see Xian, you will emit a scary blood red light when you are angry. You said that it is a kind of ability that can make your body enter a state of excitement, so I secretly learned it. With her tongue out, Hina raised her head and said proudly. She hadn't been able to achieve this level before, but after eating devil fruit, everything seemed to become very simple, and Longsheng seemed to be on the hook. Very strong learning consciousness, but Hina, don't you even call your brother now. Hey, brother. Just as the red-haired girl was about to continue to call out Xian's name, Xian placed her hand on her shoulder and looked down at her condescendingly. The huge dragon power far exceeding Xena's level struck overwhelmingly. Let her face the color of fear. So good. Quote. Dice and Carol, who were watching the play, looked at Hina, whose face changed at the speed of light, in amazement. She didn't know why she shivered suddenly, just like what Xian did to her. Stupid sister, the reason why I didn't fight with you brother is not because of fear of your newly discovered ability. It's because I fight with you here, whether it is a threat to the giant Tyrannosaurus or other people. You thought I was on the 2nd floor, but in fact I was on the 5th floor. And you, in my eyes, will always be the 1st floor. Conqueror's long way mixed with top predators has tried repeatedly. Hina suddenly curled her lips aggrieved, seemingly failed to challenge her brother's family status. Because of the same age, Hina more often regarded Xian as her peers, but over time she became a younger sister. Her original intention was to make Xian positively aware of her existence through her strong own strength. What should I say, the age of rebellion has also arrived. But unfortunately, she is destined to only chase Xian's back, because the gap between the two sides is too big, and it is not a devil fruit that can make up for it. But for Hina, who is extremely possessive, it won't end like this. She will definitely plan something carefully. For Xian, it is not a bad thing to have a sister who is energetic and lively, although it is a bit naughty. When you arrive at the new sea area, your horizons are also broadened. Ah, I miss the time when I was chased by sea kings, it was really exciting. Isn't it now? Xian looked into the distance with an expression full of emotion. It is really troublesome to be attacked by sea kings. I am talking about giant sea kings. In their eyes, ordinary sea kings are called food, rather than monsters. He. Why are you giggling, Carol? I found the place that the captain you asked me to track. It's always moving, so we can't find it at all by recording pointers. A strong smell of land beasts on the back, full of the smell of many furry creatures, then it's the legendary country you call Zuo. Yes, you are not wrong. The kingdom of Zhao is indeed the name of the land attached to the back of a giant elephant. It will always keep moving. It is a magical island that does not limit a certain area. Because it is not land, it is difficult to find. And it is said that there are races that hate humans living on Zhou Island. They are called the Mink tribe, or the Fur tribe, and have not been discovered by humans for nearly 1,000 years. Really, real or fake? So amazing. Everyone looked at Xian with surprise, full of curiosity about this so-called Zhou, and Tis, who was also dumbfounded, came back to his senses, raised her head and looked forward, the country on the back of the legendary giant elephant. Yes, I always thought it was a scene that can only be seen in fairy tales. Yes, It's really magical, but the Fishmen Island seems even more outrageous, don't be surprised. It seems that's the case. After leaving the deep sea and arriving on land, Tiz and Carlos saw the magnificence of this world. In their minds, the theory that the Fishmen Island is the center of the world was completely overturned. The sky and night scenes are so beautiful, the sea. It is so magnificent, there are many hard soil land and mountains and high mausoleums. Captain, it looks like someone is following us. Carol was riding on the head of the dragon, looking left and right with the telescope on the high place, and then suddenly placed his gaze on the shadow of a ship. It's the Seagull banner, it's not good, it's marine. What? Xian quickly jumped to a high place, took the binoculars and looked into the distance. It was really Marine's flag, but it was an ordinary-looking warship with only a dozen people on board. Came quickly toward the giant Tyrannosaurus. With such a simple configuration, who gives them the courage to chase us? It's weird. Generally speaking, if you are not equipped with a fully equipped marine, your own ship will retreat in panic, but this warship is too arrogant. It actually goes after the behemoth warship that is dozens of times their displacement. And many more. Xian's eyes quickly turned to a man standing in front of the marine soldiers with a sharp sword behind him. The cloak of justice behind him was far more majestic than any marine he had ever seen. Hockey, although he was not tall. It's tall, but it's full of oppression. A sharp, eagle-eyed gaze looked over here, and it was obvious that the other party had spotted himself and smiled. It shouldn't be. Marine Admiral. Xian came back to his senses in an instant. This was the first time he saw Admiral's figure. He didn't expect to come to catch himself personally. It was too shameful. He just destroyed a prison island and destroyed a few warships by the way. Do you need to send Admiral out? Carol, go ahead at full speed and get rid of them. Hina, Tis, prepare for defense, prepare weapons and shells, and protect the giant Tyrannosaurus. Brother, why don't you sink them? Haha, that's what I said. Xian smiled, and then quickly changed his face and said, you are stupid. People made it clear that they are here to keep us. They dared to rush directly, indicating that there must be reinforcements behind. Besides, we may not be able to sink them. Hina doesn't seem to know what the so-called Admiral is, but Xian can clearly feel the strong sense of oppression from the opponent. The amazing sword intent shows his identity. Not surprisingly, it should be what Whitebeard said. Ulster Mahawk, the world's largest swordsman, Thunder Sword. If this is the case, then they have no chance of winning at all and must leave here as soon as possible. However, Xian underestimated the strength of the opponent. Admiral's self-confidence is not only derived from his achievements, but also from his own strength. Master Ulster, we are almost within their range, do we need to retreat? Do not. The man's expression has never changed, staring straight ahead. They have always been within my attack range, so don't worry. Ah, it's an adult. The Marine seemed very shocked, and some did not quite understand the meaning of this sentence. The other party's pirate ship is also several kilometers away from here, and the man's words seem to indicate that the range of his sight is within his own attack range. Just thinking about it, Thunder Sword was pulled out from behind by Ulster, and on the other side, his behavior also attracted Xian's attention. No, is it possible to emit sword aura even this far? Just as Xian said this, a strong thunder light rose from the sea level. It was a thunderous flash that was erected, tearing the sky and the sea, and heading straight for the giant Tyrannosaurus. What is that? Hina, Carol and others were stunned. They had never seen anything like this before, but there was no doubt that if they were hit, the giant Tyrannosaurus would be crushed to pieces. Flying and slashing. The enemy is a great swordsman. Hina, protect the ship. Seeing that the slashing was getting faster and faster, Xian had to jump to the bow of the ship, instantly becoming huge, presenting a monster-like black dragon body, arms crossed, armament hockey plus explosive scale defense, covering in front of him. Boom! The air instantly exploded, and that huge slash stopped in front of the black dragon, causing a terrifying roar of air around it, and a huge shock hit the huge storm Wang Ma Jiao dragon, sending it back. Push hundreds of meters. Xian stubbornly resisted this slash, the dragon's arms numb, the sword marks were clearly visible on the scales, and his heart was extremely low. This is an enemy comparable to him. Even stronger. Because that weapon is very unusual. The huge black sword that is soaring with thunder light looks unique. It is probably the Thunder Sword of the Supreme Sword of 12 Skills. If this is the case, the defense of the Steel Dragon scale armor is not only it just can't play an effective role, but will be restrained by attributes. What is this? Do humans still have such a powerful role? Carol was inexplicably horrified. That Marine was able to make such a terrifying slash. Is this Marine Admiral? If you feel hit, it will be gone. Don't worry, I'm fine. Xian stared at the warship ahead fiercely. Such a powerful slash was nothing to him, but first of all, he had to figure out whether the slash was the opponent's big move or a general attack. If it was the former, it would be fine. But Xian thinks this guy is the latter. As predicted. An unusual man standing on an ordinary warship, Marine Admiral's Justice cloak shook with the air waves, and the Marines beside him looked at him with admiration and shock. The world's #1 swordsman really deserves its reputation and possesses it. Terrifying combat effectiveness. Is it blocked? There was a trace of approval in those sharp eyes like eagles, well worthy of being a pirate of 900 million. Thunder Sword, swing again. Again, here again. Tissa's eyes widened, watching the terrifying slashing slash once again tore the sky apart, but what was different from just now was that the sword aura was filled with the light of thunder and lightning, and it was even greater. This time, it was serious. It's crazy. Marine. In front of the giant Tyrannosaurus, the black dragon flapped its wings and stood on the surface of the sea. Facing the huge sword energy that struck again, the right arm of the dragon spewed blood-red steam, and the black-red armament hockey covered it, and it looked incomparable. Hard. Bang. The dragon fist and the slash collided, and they did not give way to each other. Under the thrust of Xian, the slash finally turned into a wave of air, exploded in the sea, and stirred the rainstorm all over the sky. You are the only person I have ever seen who dared to fight against me so hard. Rather, it is you who are really rampant, pirate. The man in the distance showed a terrible smile, and the great swordsman's aura was thunderous. At this time, he leapt high and flew towards the sky on the moonwalk. If you are really a great swordsman, you will realize that if I want to go, you can't stop me at all. Facing the provocation, Xian rushed forward, his giant wings flapped, his fists turned into claws, and the air in front was immediately torn. If you are really a smart pirate, you will run away desperately, and you won't be a direct enemy to me. Leijian Admiral stared at Xian's huge dragon pupil, with a confident smile on the corners of his mouth. You are so stupid. Xian was amused by these words, and he raised his head and laughed wildly. In the next second, an extremely terrifying longway burst out of his body in vain, and conquerors, which overwhelmed everything in the world for a moment, struck, making Thunder Sword Admiral look shocked, and backed away to take a distance. So, Xian raised his hand and grabbed me in the void. Suddenly, the air twisted and trembled, and there was a loud noise. Then slowly raised his head. In your eyes, what kind of pirate do I belong to? Bad enough, ruthless enough, or am I already included in the list of targets to be attacked? It's up to you. A Marine Admiral, also want to kill me. It's enough to rely on me, one man and one sword. Ulster swung the sharp thunder sword in front of him, and the sudden burst of sword energy burst the entire sky. The sharp blade turned into a fierce slash, breaking the sea into two, and the dark clouds between the sky and the earth were cut neatly. The terrible force cut off the thunder and lightning, cut off the gathering of the storm, and went straight to Xian. Come. Xian's forehead was exposed with blue veins, and his face was cold, and he said every word, "Don't be kidding, Marine. The sky is falling. Flame claws. Rather than being an arm, it is more like an overbearing dragon claw." After the second stage of the evolution of Xian's dragon form, it is covered with dark and dense hard scales, and at the same time it carries the power to destroy the world and wipe out a huge fire in the air. Towards the sky full of dark clouds in front of him, immediately, suddenly waved down. Bang! This terrifying destructive power erupted with the superpower, intertwined with the lightning slash, and I don't know how many rays of light burst out in the dark clouds, like the end of the world. At this moment, Marine Admiral Ulster, who had some doubts about Xian's strength even the previous second, completely changed his expression. Ha! Sure enough, the pirates are a group of criminals who abuse their power. Lawless guys. Ulster Mahawk's face was solemn, holding the thunder sword in both hands, and slashing it out. The two intersect and stagger their positions. Click. The sea in front of Ulster cracked every inch, and he clenched the handle of the knife, and said lightly, "Did you hear it? The thunder." Boom! The thunderbolt hit the black dragon's body, and the black scale flashed an electric current, paralyzing the whole body, offsetting the passive muscle awakening, and the black dragon came out, but at this time the anger value was also as low as 90%. Thunder is rising, refining heaven and earth. Everything is silent, cut without a breath. Thunder pierces the cloud sword. The thunder light in the air quickly gathered and fell on Ulster's knife, forming a terrifying thunder and lightning dragon form, roaring like thunder. Roar! The black dragon Xian's expression was quite hideous at this time, but he didn't know what he was waiting for. At this time, his heartbeat began to accelerate, and the bloody light looming at the torn muscles became more obvious. Flying dragon form transformation. Silver-winged heavenly fiend dragon. Countless fine scales quickly gathered, and then transformed into a streamlined body covered by shining silver scales. The original wide black dragon wings also instantly emitted a red dragon gas tail flame, and the wing membrane became larger, leaning towards the streamlined, strong physique has also turned into a form that is vigorous and good at flying. Facing the flying dragon that suddenly turned into a red comet, emitting a strong brilliance, Ulster's gaze narrowed slightly. It seemed that the intelligence had mentioned this form again, which would greatly increase his mobility and flight speed. "You completely irritated me." The void scorched by the dragon aura was slightly distorted at this time. The extremely brutal Tiansha dragon flew up like fire, reached a height of several thousand meters in the air, and then swooped down suddenly. With the sound of the supersonic sonic cloud explosion, everything it flew over was left with a tail flame and a peeling carapace-like substance, and violent large-scale explosions occurred continuously at the moment of contact with the air. "Break the army with thunder." I saw the thunder sword that appeared in Ulster's hand curled up in a vortex, turned into a huge lightsaber, and slashed straight towards the swooping Tiansha dragon, seeming to want to cut the dragon's scales, and cut it killed instantly and fell here. "What are you doing?" In an instant, the force of tearing everything flashed past only half a meter from Xian. His pupils shrank sharply, and Ulster realized that the opponent was not here to attack him at all, but went straight to the direction of the warship. The scorching dragon wings accelerated by the scorching dragon gas overflowed with terrifying flames. Xian instantly destroyed the warship below. Only this blow caused a tremor of the earth and the mountains. In an instant, the sea surged, blowing up thousands of people. 100 feet of waves. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Ulster's face suddenly became savage, and his men were completely slaughtered in front of their faces, and his heart seemed to stop suddenly. Yes, he was angry. Rao as the great swordsman's state of mind is also broken. He will also be angry because of the enemy's unconventional cards and bad behavior, but once the anger rises, the great swordsman is no longer so persistent in defense, and it is more biased towards offense. But this is exactly the purpose of Xian. Now that the purpose has been achieved, facing the angry great swordsman, that incomparably terrifying power is truly and completely vented at this moment. "Pirate, today is your end." Although Ulster was extremely angry, he still noticed that Xian's form had once again changed to look like a black dragon, but it looked slightly different. The huge horns on the head are filled with a sense of deterrence. In the gaps between the huge wings and the erected scales of the whole body, the muscles are all over the body, and the blood swells and swells due to anger. The once injured parts are torn, and the blood is even more scarlet and scary. Light. There are many dark black and dark purple patterns on the head and torso, and Xian's aura has also undergone a complete change, as if it is completely different from the brainless black dragon just now. Suddenly, a terrible feeling of heart palpitations flooded Ulster's heart, as if he was being stared at by some wild beast. What happened? Sweat oozes from Ulster's forehead at this time, and the original anger has calmed down at this time, and he looks forward nervously. The breath of this black dragon has changed, as if he had changed. Kaka. In the explosion of the black dragon's muscles and bones, more than a dozen different colors of light were emitted from the body, and a deeper red light was flowing in the blood, which looked very horrible, as if it had entered a state of horror. "You don't really think I'm just a stupid idiot, do you?" Xian's expression is cold and merciless at this time. "The game is over, Marine. Thank you for giving me so long for me to enter this strongest posture." What's the meaning? Ulster was a little unsure. Just now Xian showed the enemy's weakness. Is it possible that Chengdu is trying to delay time? Meaning, you're done. A level, Blood Fury Rage, activated. A level, Bloodthirsty Runaway, has been activated. A level, Cell Strengthening, activated. A grade, Incarnation of Despair, unlocked. S level, Gluttonous Eating, unlocked. This is the end of the game with a huge roar. Xian in the Black Dragon state has already triggered all the abilities that can be triggered in a short period of time, and the state entered at this time is called the Shiji Jijilong state. Gluttony and Bitterness. The Black Dragon spread its wings and breathed downwards. At this time, it threw out a black-red dragon's breath that exterminated all things, the world flashed, and the world was cut apart. Boom 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 boom. One blow of the extremely dragon is enough to open up mountains and rivers and destroy the world. The rest of the waves blew away the dark clouds in the sky, blocking the sun and cutting the sea. The torn sea screamed, the fire and the tsunami burst into waves, the distorted air spread in the void, and the Rift Valley gave the illusion of leading to the abyss of hell. At the moment when the black dragon Xian roared up to the sky, everything around him changed with his strength. The blood-red aura distorted the boiling atmosphere. The environment at this time was just right to be called the Hellfire Sea. Explosion. Flame Claw. The Black Dragon roars. Burning Dragon's Breath. Spiral Dragon Breath. Super Burning Spiral Dragon Breath. Infinite Dragon Breath. This is a purely talented attribute of the Dragon's Breath genre. Xian weakens the strongest attack power of the Dragon's Breath, but strengthens the recovery speed of the breath to the extent that it can spit out a terrifying dragon's breath almost every second. It boiled under the agitation of its breath, the bottom of the sea was evaporated, and countless fish sea kings died tragically in the hot gas. Is it that way? Marine Admiral. As if in response to Xian's roar, an air-splitting slash was sent out in the explosion, cutting off the dragon's breath. A figure jumped out from it, armament hockey possessed, but looked very embarrassed. Not enough. Cell Awakening. Dragon Wing Hot Strike. Blazing Flame Claws. Roar of the Flame Black Dragon. The black dragon spit out a huge corrugated high-temperature radiation light, bombarding the bottom indiscriminately, and each breath can cause huge and high-impact damage. Gradually, the sky changed. To be precise, it turned into a catastrophe-like red in an instant. The air was burned out instantly, and those flames were composed of biological energy, so they would burn for a while at sea. As a result, the entire area turned hellish red, and the extremely terrifying high temperature made the surrounding seawater look like the surface of the sun and began to boil. Finally, Dive of the Dragon welcomed the final flame baptism. At this moment, the clouds suddenly distorted and began to collapse uncontrollably. Under the coercion, the world began to split, and the scorching sun recondensed on the sea in a blink of an eye. The moment the clouds disappeared, the huge black dragon rushed forward with the mighty power of Deathwing, rushed into the sea of flames in an instant, and rushed out of the flames at the other end, but at this time, there was an extra figure in its dragon's claws. The great swordsman is holding the thunder sword and colliding with his giant claws. Go to hell. Drink. The sword aura that shone through the sky finally broke out, and it flashed across the black dragon's body, shooting a terrifying bloodstain, and at that moment, Xian felt pain, and suddenly contracted the dragon's claws in an instant. Click. I don't know whose bones were broken, and the black dragon flew towards the sea, but the light and blood of various colors on his body gradually faded. It seemed that the gain state was beginning to disappear, and it was crumbling, as if it were falling. Like a fighter jet, it constantly flapped its giant wings and fell towards an ancient island. While crashing to the ground, the huge body continued to roll to relieve the impact. A large area of the forest was knocked down, causing huge waves of mud and sand, and the rubble rolled, and then it seemed as if it had lost its strength. The whole dragon was lying in the ruins of the huge pit. Breathing heavily. The other side. The man's consciousness was blurred and he was holding back the severe pain. His left eye was blood red, and the right half of his face had been burned. At the same time, his right arm disappeared completely. There were a large number of comminuted fractures and extensive burns on his body. Obviously, he suffered heavy injuries. At this time, he fell weakly in the sea and gradually sank to the bottom of the sea. To the effect, pain, numbness, and the body gradually lost consciousness. Lei Jian dropped his hand and sank to the bottom of the sea. This is the man's last consciousness. At this moment he even thought he was going to die, but his strong desire to survive did not allow him to die like this. Even if he could survive, he no longer had the power he once had. Is this what it's like to be defeated? What a shame. The man whispered in his heart, and then passed out. His shoulder touched the sand on the bottom of the sea. After that, the black dragon Shien became the nightmare of his life. Marine also lost a powerful admiral, and accelerated the promotion of Admiral of Sengoku and Zephyr. What is the strongest? What is the so-called strongest swordsmanship? No one can answer this question. But it wasn't until a young man with sharp eagle eyes like him appeared many years later that Ulster gradually realized that someone who inherited his will had appeared. Rumble. The earth is shaking. Wow. The waves are roaring. Roar. The violent wind lifted up dark clouds, and a huge dragon shadow covering the sky with a roar, crashed onto an ancient island. Boom. It was like a meteor falling, swift and violent, and the weight of super high tonnage, with immeasurable kinetic energy, instantly caused a huge shock. I don't know how many ancient trees were knocked down, how many rocks and vines were crushed, and a meteorite track was drawn on the ground, like a mushroom cloud like mud and sand storm, very shocking. The fall of the black dragon caused the islands to shake and the mountains to shake. The strong earthquake caused amazing changes in the distant jungle, and countless poisonous insects and beasts also hid in horror. The fierce fire burned violently, turning the surrounding area of the Tianqing that was smashed into coke. No creatures dared to approach this side. Even the ancient creatures on the island, under the shaking, shivered and sent there was a roar of fear. The black dragon fell. The sky is falling apart. After the soft and fertile ground was lifted by the dragon-shaped monster, the black dragon lying in the pit was breathing heavily, and then opened the sharp and terrifying dragon pupils, roaring like dust and strong shock waves, and then turned into human form, lying weakly in it. Sneer, ha 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 ha, idiot. Shien laughed wildly. Although the plane crashed, I still felt extremely refreshed. As long as I had enough buff brushes, Admiral would be as dry as a waste. What shit, the world's #1 swordsman is not a defeated player. After the dust fell, Shien gradually sat up and looked at the scorched and high-temperature area in the center of the Tianqing. These were all traces of his smash. Looking down at the abdomen, there is a clearly visible bloodstain on the shoulder, but it is a skin wound. Shien doesn't care at all. As long as the heart is not injured, there is no need to worry about other problems. If you really die accidentally, you can turn into a dragon egg form. But even so, Shien still realized how important it is to have a strong crew. Next time you encounter this situation, you don't need to do it yourself, just gang fights. Although Xena is considered to be a combat power, the guy named Thunder Sword just now can easily kill her in seconds. This is the strength of Admiral. No matter how weak it is an Admiral. Now, Shien's physical strength is almost exhausted. Before it is completely exhausted, he intends to temporarily supply supplies on this island. After all, he knew that Carol would definitely be able to find him, not to mention that the life paper was in her hands, and he would be able to find him simply by smelling the smell. So Shien was not in a hurry, but collected some broken trees, gathered these things, and sprayed down a lightning-like dragon's breath, instantly igniting a raging fire, and black smoke aroused the attention of the outside world. Find something to eat first. For Shien, survival in the wilderness of the isolated island has not been experienced for a long time, but now he is no longer the little guy who hid in the dragon egg carapace to escape predators at the beginning, and now he has become predators. Piranha. Shien saw the big-mouthed flower with a thorny hard shell, and felt a little strange that this creature had long since become extinct. Where to go first now? This island is much larger than Shien imagined. Since piranhas exist, there should also be some dangerous predators, which means he can have a full meal. Forests to the west, beaches to the east, swamps to the south, and canyons to the north. Shien dived into the forest without even thinking about it. Although the beach was turquoise sea and the warm climate was very comfortable, there was not so much food. Primitive jungle is a place where large beasts live, so the food is quite prosperous. In the dimness, Shien raised his head and looked at the unfamiliar surroundings, a pile of vegetation that had never been seen before, and some strange auras coming from the jungle. At this time, he stepped on a few vines, tore apart the grass vines all the way, and walked into the tall grass. People like him usually look very tall in the forest, but in this ancient forest, Xian only felt that he was very small, because the surrounding vines, flowers and trees were no less than a few meters high, reaching his waist. It is this primitive picture that made Xian feel the wildest side of nature in Dinosaur Island. He slowly raised his head and stepped on this unknown but charming land, feeling the surging vitality in him. It is vividly displayed in front of him. The other side, the turquoise sea, as soft as silk, swayed slightly. On the giant Tyrannosaurus, a group of people became anxious, and it was not until Carol reported the situation that they breathed a sigh of relief, at least to prove that there was no accident with Xian. What is that? Perceiving the thick smoke and fog over the island, they understood that it was Xian's signal, but when the three people on board gradually approached, the giant Tyrannosaurus was stopped urgently. As if they were afraid of something, they did not dare to approach this primitive island at all. I saw a thick fog rising in the sea, and then a figure like a monster was looming in the thick fog. Suddenly, a blood-colored vertical pupil larger than the giant Tyrannosaurus opened suddenly and locked in a straight line. This ship. The jungle with trees over 20 meters high is lush, and the air seems a bit humid, but fortunately it is not hot here. Next came the completely unknown territory. Xian continued to approach the ancient forest. Ah, the creatures here are so strange. Speechless. What the hell is this? Now, Xian looked at the surroundings with an incredible face, the creatures rushing in the grass. It was especially strange because it was a reminiscent of giant reptile creatures, and it looked like a Tyrannosaurus. But it's not the same as Hina's Tyrannosaurus. Because of it, I don't know why a flower grew on my head. The sharp teeth and the murderous aura, no doubt showed that it was a ferocious carnivorous creature, but the flower on the top of the head was particularly strange, as if this flower was the body and the Tyrannosaurus was a parasitized creature. I saw Tyrannosaurus recklessly, praying towards Xian. Next second, I saw the Tyrannosaurus desperate, being chased by the black dragon and fleeing. Flame Claw. I saw Xian dragon claws rise in a vortex of flames, flying towards the top of the Tyrannosaurus, burning the flower to the ground, and for a moment the body of the Tyrannosaurus froze in place, and then the body twitched. At this time, the eyes she also changed from a violent look to a normal look of consternation, looking at Xian in terror, and fell under his feet. Then, Xian tilted his head and looked at it curiously. How that flower controls a Tyrannosaurus is very strange, and it seems that the closer Xian gets to it, many creatures have a flower growing on their heads, which seems to be parasitized. At first he thought it was a characteristic creature of the jungle. But only found out later. Those flowers are abnormal, like demon fruit power. For example, parasitic seeds. With Xian's in-depth exploration, more and more creatures were parasitized, and they showed their murderous intentions to Xian, trying to stuck Xian in a line to die, and then fell into the belly of the black dragon. The more you eat, the more hungry you get. I can see that the master in this field doesn't seem to like me, but why not show up in person, but expel me in this way? Xian didn't know how many ancient creatures had been eaten, what kind of giant bears, armored rhinos, they were everywhere. The appearance of the armored woolly rhinoceros is covered with some cilia that are as hard as iron walls. Almost anything can't break it, but after encountering Xian, it is completely gone. The huge rhino horn was ripped apart by a claw when it hit it, and the blood-stained black dragon would eat them. After ingesting genes, Xian learned the skills of skin hardening, bronze wall and iron wall, and dragon horn strengthening. Then there is Inu Bear. This is the deadliest, efficient and dangerous killing machine Xian has ever seen. This guy has a wolf's head, a bear's body and a lion's tail. He prefers to be in the middle of a high mountain or on the edge of a desert. Inhabits in the oasis, near the edge of the forest. Xian found a few of these creatures. They occasionally appear in pairs, and many predators are afraid to avoid them under the terrifying speed and powerful fighting skills. Moreover, the fighting spirit is extremely high, especially for large carnivores. When attacking, the bear will jump to its neck and bite wildly, causing it to bleed until its death. So even if you are a lone Tyrannosaurus, think twice when facing a bear. After eating them, Xian learned the skills of Hate Lock, Tear Dragon Tooth, and Pain Immunity. It's here. Xian also saw the giant ancient prism. He originally thought that the giant rhinoceros was the largest of the mammals, but he unexpectedly discovered the ancient prism that was a circle larger than the mammoth. Its size is similar to that of the giant rhinoceros. Quite. They often appear in the grasslands and plains, and their huge size makes ordinary small and medium-sized creatures such as bull dragons and saber-toothed tigers dare not provoke them. When the ancient prism is threatened, in addition to the sharp ivory that can cause huge damage to the opponent, the ancient prism's trunk can also roll into the air, such as velociraptor and saber-toothed tiger directly into the air, dead or strangled to suffocation. After devouring these elephants, Xian unlocked skills such as fangs, softening muscles, and super hearing. While Xian was praying in a certain sense, observation Haki caught the breath of some creatures gathering. About 10 giant vines are surrounded by strange creatures. I don't know if they are mistaken. These tree ant-like creatures approached in the direction of Xian. Xian couldn't help but to act in a uniform manner. I wonder if these guys are controlled by some kind of person. Regarding the attitude of the vine treemen who adopted a circular encirclement battle, Xian did not move, but they also temporarily woven vines to block the surrounding passages and then released a position. Many reptiles more than 2 meters in length are similar to swift and fierce. The dragon dinosaur appeared. So cute. The flowers on the top of the head, the more they look, the more funny they are. What are you going to do? Xian looked at the vine tree people coldly. After all, these guys like to spoil the serious atmosphere, and he can't get any anger. Leaving. Here, strangers. The vine tree man actually vomited. No, it was someone who was talking and spreading the voice through them. At this time, a voice rang in Xian's mind, and the results of his identification of these creatures appeared. Name: Puppet Tree Man. Type: Devil Fruit Servant. Source of ability: Parasitic fruit. The ability of the fruit to eat parasitic seeds will be controlled by it. The seeds are scattered all over the island. It can be said that the entire island is under surveillance, and the user of the fruit ability is unknown, not yet discovered. The other side. Velociraptor-like creatures exuded a murderous roar, posing in a ready-to-go posture, even though Xian didn't think they could threaten him. I have no ill intentions. Xian was also watching them. The velociraptor's tough feet had hooks measuring about 20 centimeters in length, shining with a fierce cold light, and suddenly rushed over. Boom! Only heard the dull sound of collision. The raptors seemed to convulse in an instant. They were beaten up and rolled on the ground. After hitting the tree trunk, they were motionless, and they were silent for a moment. You can't help me. I'm a carnivore. As long as I don't eat those plants, you can't control me, let alone drive me away. While saying this, Xian was quietly observing the surroundings, looking for the figure of the capable person. Soon, he found a fairy-like creature jumping on a certain tree canopy. His eyes shot out a cold light, and Xian disappeared in place. Is that you? Demon fruit power. When Xian appeared near the canopy of the tree, his gaze fell on a humanoid creature, and his figure was locked tightly. Only, this thing is too small. Ah 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 ah. A horrified scream sounded in Xian's ears. The strange humanoid creature in front of him, probably only his slap, screamed, and then ran away, riding a huge beetle with bean sprouts on his head. Hey! Xian grabbed the guy, carrying armament Haki in his palm, and held it tightly, making it impossible to escape. Who are you? Can you eat it? Xian was very curious about what kind of race this little human was, and licked the corner of his mouth. Monster, let me go. Don't eat me. My name is Lilia, a member of Dongtata. Not food. Like all Dongtata people, Lilia also has a compact body and a pointed nose. She dyed her face in camouflage green, decorated with green leaves, and had red blood on her cheeks. Dongtata people, little people. As Xian said, he found several toothless pterosaurs hovering in the sky, and some dinosaurs were about to move, seeming to be hostile to him. Roar! The majestic eruption of the giant dragon instantly overwhelmingly caused these dinosaurs to retreat, and therefore made the little humans dare not act rashly. Where is this place? Xian asked. This is the back of Lord Turtle, Mandala Island. Oh, my lord, please don't eat any more. It turned out that Xian was too edible, so this guy couldn't help but want to expel him. Master Turtle. Listening to this name, Xian seemed to perceive something wrong. He looked at the dirt under his feet, and it was impossible that he was on the back of some huge creature. As if responding to Xian's guess, the ground under his feet suddenly shook violently. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.